Hello. Absolute Football Podcast is back. It's here. It's the end of season special review. And I'm here. I've come back from holiday. It's only been a week. I was just saying to the guys, I've no idea what I'm doing, but I've been away for just 1 week. Josh has left the ball back in my hands today because he's beginning work. So we hope he's had a lovely day to start things off. But it's the end of season special. So I have a very special trio with me to celebrate the end of season. To go through things. The best trio, I think, since the Bee Gees, I think it's fair to say. Modern day Bee Gees, I'm going to call us. To my left is Charlotte. Charlotte, how are you? How are you today?
Yeah, I'm really, really good, thank you. I'm excited to talk this season. I feel like it's been a really random one, but a really fun one, so I'm really excited to review it.
It is. It's been a bonkers season. This could go on for hours if we go through every nook
I
and cranny
know.
of this.
Be careful.
And just like the real season, it seemed bloody long anyway, isn't it, with that World Cup break? Absolutely crazy. So, and of course, not just me and Charlotte. Lucas, welcome to you. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. Just had a massive dinner, so yeah, time to put my feet up and talk football.
Perfect. Good. As long as my internet stays fine, we'll be all right. The pre-start's dodgy, but we'll be okay. And Chris has joined us as well in the chat. I know Josh is better at the intros with his rhyming, to be fair. He's well prepped. He's well prepped with his intros. He does get me a bit on those, but I don't want to take the thunder away from him with him not being here. So I'll let him have his little rhymes. It's fine. So yes, Absolute Football Podcast. Technically the end of the season. There's still 2 games to go. There's a Champions League final, and I suppose West Ham fans will tell you the season's not over either, with a Conference League as well. But the latest game that we're going to touch on is the FA Cup final. Before we get into the Premier League team review, the FA Cup final. I'll tell you a very quick story before we get into the game. I was travelling back. It was horrible. I was travelling back on the Saturday from Mallorca. So we got up early, everything, the whole travel to get there. And literally, my flight was getting in at Bournemouth at 1:30. I had to get home. Everything was going to be fine in the minute. So I had the whole day was clock watching. The whole day. Can I get there? Can I get there? I got home at 8 minutes before the kickoff start. I'm thinking, I've absolutely nailed this. Can't believe this. Got cold can out the fridge, ready, sat down, and then 13 seconds in, I was like, I should have just stayed in bed. I spent my entire day getting ready for this, the entire day, and then that happens. So yeah, not great from my perspective. Charlotte, how was it for you? I mean, you saw the preparation more than I did. So were you expecting that 13 seconds start?
To be fair, after the 13-second start, I thought, oh no, it's going to be a pasting now for Manchester United. Luckily, for their sakes and your sake, it wasn't. But yeah, I don't think it was the best of games, really, was it? I think Pep set up enough and Manchester City did enough. I don't think Manchester United were that great, but yeah, it was just kind of a typical Manchester derby, but at Wembley, I think.
Yeah, I was fearing the worst too. After that 13 seconds, I thought, the one thing, the one text I sent before the game started to my mate was like, we just have to stay in it. Stay in it for a little bit. We stayed in it for 12 seconds. I'm thinking these floodgates could really open. I think as you said, I didn't go in expecting really that we were going to win it. It was out of hope, I think, rather than any kind of expectation. And I didn't think City played anywhere near as well as they could play. I didn't think they managed the game very well late on compared to how City could. But yeah, we were just off in too many facets of the game there. And if you're chasing a team, City's the worst team to chase, going 1-0 down early. But Lucas, how did you see it on your side, the early start, and then from then onwards?
Well, I want them to bat you after they scored. Within 12 seconds, I was hoping they were going to bat you, but yeah, I was praying. I was like, I want 8. Let's go. And they're just all quiet. Yeah, just quieting down. Like, I don't know. City just looked they looked like they knew they had a Champions League final the next week. They weren't like committing to fouls. They weren't like, they weren't exerting themselves a lot, I think. And United just looked tired, and also just kind of like, there's not really much we can do. It just looked like United was just like, there's no way we can get through. We're not going to score a goal here we're not going to score, and it took a penalty.
Yeah.
So it was one of those ones where as soon as they scored, I was like, well, this is over. And then you got back into the penalty, and it was like, could United steal it? And then I was just looking at every single attack. I was just like, no way. Eriksen was Some of your players were just shocking.
Yeah, that was the one selection for me. I mean, Chris is exactly right there. Eriksen against teams that he's not mobile enough for it.
Exactly.
Against the teams at Old Trafford, when they're sat back, when you've got the possession, when he can find the split and pass, but it was just a passenger, absolute passenger. And City's midfield is phenomenal anyway. You can't have a passenger in there. It just left the others too much to do. And I thought going forward, we were weak, weak. Got to the edge of the box quite well. I thought they pressed quite high to try and get some of those opportunities, but then there was just nothing. Sancho is just a passenger, absolute passenger.
He needs to be sold. I
100%.
think. Yeah, I think 2 years.
100%.
I was kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt, but then just like your last few games, I'm like, they're back end of the season. I'm just like, this guy is just, it's just it offers absolutely nothing.
He doesn't take any responsibility, does he? He just gets in the box, and then every time you're thinking, he tries to cut through the player. Worst
option every single time. For someone who's actually got good ability with the ball, it just doesn't make any sense. So it just looks like it's a bad fit. Unlike Anthony, it looks like he's probably settling in, but at least Anthony offers.
Yeah.
You know, you look like you did miss Anthony, to be fair, in that game. But you need. I'd be worried about this striker situation if I was United. You need to sort that quite early in the summer. It's really bad. You're really missing a focal point.
It's crucial, and they're talking. I think they need two. They need two because
you need a backup.
You need a backup as an option that's in there that you could maybe play off of them in occasions too. So I think they need two. And you say if they don't move early enough, which I don't think they will, the takeover stuff's still mucking around. They don't really know where the kitty is, where they stand with FFP. We seem to be moving quickly on some other rumours and transfers, but with United, it's so hard to tell anyway because we're linked to flipping everybody. Yeah. So it's who knows.
Also, putting all your eggs in the Kane basket might be. I mean, it's one of the things where it's like, where is he going to? He's not going to sign. He's not going to extend with Tottenham. He doesn't want to go abroad, but
Levy will hang this out all summer. It'll be
exactly.
It'll be De Jong part 2. You know.
Now that Benzema's gone from Madrid, that's the worst thing that could have happened because Levy will look at that and go, well, Madrid are interested. So come on, United. Yeah. So this is going to be, the Kane thing is going to be I can't see anything happening until August unless he renews his contract. But even then, if you get to that point and he goes, you know what? I've had a good career, but I want to go and win some proper trophies. I'm going to Real Madrid, guaranteed. Almost guaranteed the Champions League and a couple of La Ligas. But if he does decide to stay, then I don't really see you getting any competition. So it's kind of like, why wouldn't you just sort that out straight away? As soon as transfer window opens, how much do you want for Kane?
Yeah. They've got to get it done and all have a deadline on when they say, look, if we can't get it done by then, we move on.
Find someone else.
You can't spend all summer because, as you say, you get to the end of August, he signs a new contract, he goes to Real Madrid, then Wout Weghorst is back on the phone and you're just asked on day one.
There's really not that many strikers around. Like,
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
And so that 9 will help. But I mean, in terms of what they had, I think, so going to the chat with a couple of people, Lisa says Garnacho should have come on early. Chris says
I agree with that.
Garnacho will look better.
Yep.
And the issue, I think, has been Garnacho's been injured, isn't he? So coming back, he hadn't played a full 90, but he was just head and shoulders attacking-wise above anything else that we had, just direct.
Yeah. And I think Ten Hag got I think the selection was a little bit dodgy. I'm not sure about Eriksen, but Sabitzer wasn't fit, was it? So you have to go basically McFred.
Do you know what though? I was gonna say, as much as I don't really rate McTominay, I think he would have actually done a job
the big
there.
game. Yeah,
I honestly think he would have done a job there. Yeah.
He probably
and then the Sancho. The one thing that was frustrating me, and I was like, I'm not a United fan, but this Rashford striker thing is just like we've seen it. Just like we've seen it so many. And it's these kind of things which make people go, Ten Hag, like, what are you doing? Keeping Maguire as the captain. Keep playing Rashford's your most effective player going forward, next to probably Bruno. But even Bruno, I'd say Bruno's numbers very much don't tell the story when you watch him play in terms of how impactful he is. Oh, he creates the most bullshit. Okay, he just passes a lot into the box. It's not. Come on, let's be real. Yeah. We're going to watch him. Bruno is not as bad as people make him out to be, but he's not as good as people make him out to be. Rashford's your most effective player. You have to play him in his best position, which is on the left wing. So in order to do that, you've got to make a call and go, well, either I start Rashford up front and he's completely nullified, which we all know would be the case against Man City, or you start... I would have just started Weghorst because you need Rashford. You need to get the best out of Rashford. So I didn't understand that. I was like, why was Rashford starting as your striker?
Yeah, it's
Not
silly.
a
We've
striker.
done it. We've done that so many times. You say it's an experiment that's out there. The evidence is there, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You don't
doesn't
move
work,
your best
yeah.
player. You move your players around your best player, and if that means you have to sacrifice Sancho for Vegas, well, Sancho's been pointless. So you might as well have Vegas, and Vegas obviously not being the number 9 goal scorer, but someone that might be able to knock it down for Rashford and get him in around the box. That's what
Yeah.
you're hoping for, but. It's just, and it was just chalk and cheese. You've got bloody Erling Haaland at the under in the pitch. So anytime you press City and then they just go long to that man beast. And I thought Varane had a
it's just
decent game
cheating.
against him, but you just can't get anywhere near him. You can't get anywhere near the bloke. Unbelievable. So yeah,
But
I think
you did the best.
Rashford's
You
for the
did the
miss.
best you could, considering City weren't.
I think that's it. I think that's why I sort of come out of it not as much as you're disappointed because you lost the cup final, you lost it to Manchester City. There's the whole treble thing, but compared to what it could have been after 13 seconds and what you're expecting, then you can't really be too disappointed because you've got to be realistic about it.
I think you definitely need a new goalkeeper though.
Yeah. Without a
Yeah.
doubt.
The second goal. I'm sorry, but that second goal.
There's been too many big games. Okay, he's had the most clean sheets in the season, but I think a lot of that's the defence. He has games where he puts out some phenomenal saves. He can't play with his feet, and it causes.
I think that's the worst thing. I think you need a goalkeeper now. In this day and age in football, you need a goalkeeper that can play with his feet, and he can't at all.
I said David Raya is available for like 30 million, right? He's also they already bought a backup as well. I think that will happen, but. Why are you giving De Gea a new contract?
I know.
This is
again. It's these decisions, which is just so
it's the
strange.
loving with these players, and you're like, no. Sometimes you've got to move on. You've got to move on. De Gea has had great moments in his career with us. He's had great seasons with us. He's had player of the season. But it has dwindled. It has dwindled, and more mistakes coming in. And if you've got to have someone who's an absolute perfect shot saver if they can't play with their feet. So then when you add the mistakes in as well, I mean, the amount of times I was watching him just balloon it up the field towards their centre-back, just going, got Rashford up front. He's not going to win a ball in the air against Ruben Diaz, is he? It's just stupid. So, yeah, I don't.
Completely changes your dynamic if you have a goalkeeper who can pass.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the issue is they've just got a few issues to sort. As you say, if the striker is going to take the budget. Striker's going to take the budget. You've got issues to sort out with people like Maguire, and that's still sat in there. I don't think he's happy with the fullbacks. The fullbacks don't have the question. You need someone else.
Centre-backs.
Injury-prone centre-backs. Varane getting towards the end of his career. You've got a centre midfielder that needs to be alongside a Casemiro with legs. There's a lot to sort. And so I'd love to.
It's going to be tricky in the summer. He's got to get it right this summer as well, because he'll be under the knife next season. Ten Hag, I think. He's had a good first season, but if we're being honest, it's not a 10 out of 10 first season. Not just the fact that you didn't win the league or anything. I'm just saying, just from what we've seen in decision making and some of the signings, some of the performances as well. I think he's still got a way to go before he convinces most United fans he's the manager long term now. But I think it's been a good season. But he's going to have to get it right this summer, because I think.
Yep.
The fans will turn next season if they start seeing some dodgy decisions. And
you
have to go again.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to say Dan's joined us in chat as well. He loves hearing about Wildcard Horse, of course. He's back with you at the minute now, isn't he? Officially. Where's his contract at the minute? I don't know. Dan says he can come back and collect his things and leave again. Fantastic. I think the thing with Ten Hag, I think the fans are behind him. And because of this situation with the board, the ownership, which has been long term, I think we're more worried about what that's going to do, what Ten Hag's going to be able to do. It's a bit worrying, some of the comments already in the after pre-match interviews, and he's sort of saying, I'll fight for what I think we need to be doing. And it already tells you that the club are saying something different. Yeah. And you've got to sort out what you're doing with the deal. That will cause issues. If it goes a certain way that it looks like it might be going, it will cause big issues. And particularly if they don't then support Ten Hag with what we feel he needs, then it's only going to get worse. So I think it's a good season. Third Champions League and a cup and a cup final in that kind of arena. But the problem is we're all comparing our seasons to what we're chasing, and what we're chasing is an absolute golden goose at the minute. Perfection. So it's not good enough. It's not good enough to be kind of sat there, but we're all kind of nitpicking at each other. I think that's going to be the problem. I see the Arsenal, United, Liverpool of us kind of still while City gallop off into the scraps, distance. Trying to hope that something can come together. But there we go. Manchester City have 1-2. I think it's probably 3, isn't it, Shah? Is there any hope for Inter Milan? I know Josh was putting tweets out about the miracle, but
I would absolutely love it to happen. Don't get me wrong, but I can't see it. But if they play anything like they did against Manchester United, you never know. But I cannot see it at all. I think Haaland will probably be on fire, and yeah, I'm hoping for Dzeko to actually do something against his old club, or Lukaku.
Lukaku winner would be hilarious.
Lukaku winner would
be the funniest thing. But also, I think for us, Sam, I think if Pep Guardiola loses the Champions League to Inter Milan, then just pack it up for the next 5 years, because he will extend his contract and he would destroy us next year. You don't want an angry Pep next season, Haaland second year, going, we've just lost the Champions League to probably the worst team we could have played out of the last round of 16, or one of the worst teams. It's not like we had to, beat Madrid in a final. I mean, obviously they beat Madrid and Bayern, but if they go and lose to Inter, he is going to be on a revenge tour.
I think
season.
that's why I want them to win. Just so Benny might think,
Make
you
them
know
less
what,
hungry.
I'm done here now, I'm going.
We
Take the pain now.
We need him to win it. So there's no doubt that contract, when it comes up, was it 25? He's there. He'll be looking at an international job if they lose it. Fuck's sake.
Oh my God! Imagine.
We'll see Neymar, Messi. We'll see Mbappe at Man City or something.
Just put us out of our misery now.
Yeah.
This is it. I mean, there's support for Inter in the chat. I think we're all coming from a position of hope. Chris says about Dzeko getting the winner. And as well, of course, the Conference League coming up. Hammers to win the Conference League final as well. That's just the Italians have been on a bit of a run, haven't they? But they're in all 3 finals and they've lost 1. I imagine they're going to lose the second. So potentially they could lose the third. They could lose the third as well. Yeah. Miracles can happen. That's why we love football. But this Manchester City team, I thought they looked a little bit leggy, I must say. I thought they looked a little bit leggy. And I was surprised, as I said earlier, how they didn't manage that last period of the game. The fact, if we'd have scored that, if that ball had felt differently in the box in the McTominay crossbar at the end, somehow would have blagged a draw and been in extra time. And I didn't think they kept the ball very well in that last 20 minutes, which is, as soon as we got 2-1 down the second half, of what it's done, because they'll do what Man City do. They'll kill the game. We'll be chasing shadows. We won't get near the ball, but they didn't. But it's the Champions League final and adrenaline, and they're much better than Inter Milan.
Exactly. Good matchup. I think it'll be, I don't think they're going to walk all over them, but it's going to be, I think it'll be close for a while. And then as soon as City get that goal, it's done. They'll probably get another and wrap it up 2-0. But I'm looking forward to it.
Should be good. Hopefully a bit longer than 13 seconds to give us hopeful in that one. But but we will see. But of course, FA Cup, we've done the FA Cup, but we're here for the end of season review, the end of the Premier League season review. We've got an awful lot to review. We've been very optimistic tonight. We want to go through all the teams. We've got our team of the season coming up, as well as player and manager of the season as well. So excellent. I've got some kind of, Josh has given me his 11, which was last night as he was on the M4 about 1 o'clock. So I've got about 9 players at the minute in. So his is coming in as we speak. But we'll start off. We're going to go alphabetically, which means, Lucas, unfortunately, we're not going in terms of the table that you're at the top, but alphabetically, I'll put you at the top. Arsenal, how overall, as quickly as you can, I suppose as brief as you can, explain this season for Arsenal?
It was a good season overall. No, let me rephrase. It was. We had a good performance in the league this season, and we ultimately fell short. But I don't think that completely takes away from some of the performances. At least for the first half of the season, we were exceptional, and we tailed off towards the end for multiple reasons, which I won't go into. But everyone's got their opinion on why that happened. But there are a lot of things that went into why we fell apart at the end. Not just the fact that Man City are really good. We slipped up in some very winnable games. So yeah, I'm content with it. I'm kind of upset about how we ended, but I think this summer's pretty key. I need to see what we do in the summer off the back of that. We could get it so wrong, and historically we don't get it right. And, I can count on I can count on one hand of the last summer and January transfer windows of the last decade, how many of them I've been very happy with. It's probably like 1 or 2 where I've been like, oh, that was a good window. So yeah, we need to see what we do in the summer to build on what was a competitive season, but ultimately we fell short. But yeah, we go again, and no more throwing cups away. I don't care where we are in the league. You can't throw cups away. You just can't do that.
No.
I wasn't happy with that at the time, and I think that was really poor. Hindsight's one thing, but there are a lot of fans at the time going, "Why are we playing weekend squads in Europa League? Like, why are we not? Let's compete on all fronts. Let's go for it. Like, how much is this really going to impact our?" And then we put all our eggs in one basket, and it didn't work out. So yeah, need to see some better squad management next season, and some good signings coming into the team. Some proper some players are going to push that first 11, basically.
It's the squad size, wasn't it? I think the squad size and the kind of tail end of the season was clearly the issue. As you say, and if you're going to compete on the Champions League as well, you need a better squad to deal with those early matches, because the group stage in the Europa League is a bit of a wafty nonsense for a few of us. Some of the teams that you can play against there, but Champions League there's not. You're going to struggle, particularly, I suppose. Your coefficient. I don't know what Arsenal's coefficient is either. I don't know what seed you're going to end up in the Champions League.
It might be pot 2. There was rumours of pot 3, but I think from that last thing I saw, we were pot 2.
You might be pot 2, so that would be fairly good. And so you've got, I suppose, the positives are the young players had a really good season, and they've had a sort of season on their belt. They've experienced the tough times, the difficult moments, and where they can come back from that. But have you got the squad, I guess, to deal with it in the next? But expectation is going to be completely different.
It's going to be very big next season. Yeah, I think even the biggest Arteta fans and the biggest process fans and things like that, and everyone who's really behind this whole plan, like down to a T, doesn't question anything. I think they're going to have to go. If we're in a top 4 race next season and we're out the trophies by like Feb, March, that's going to get a bit that's not going to be a pretty sight. I think that's poor. That's really poor. So yeah, I think next season there's no more top 4. It's like that's the bare minimum. That's how it should be. Next season, you have to win a trophy, FA Cup, Champions League, or Premier League. I think at this point, otherwise, what we all been waiting for.
What's the point of the progression? Well, exactly.
That's the point, yeah,
exactly. Well, I think the season obviously just gone. You had the Jesus injury, which was a big moment at the time, but I thought you were better without him. Actually, that period afterwards was you were more threatening with a proper kind of.
Well, he was good for like 2 games. He scored straight away as soon as he came back, and then after that, he just got figured out. Teams just figured out. They were like, Jesus is going to keep running at basically teams stopped following him out of position. They basically stopped, and then he couldn't find the space in the box to be effective. So when players stopped following out, he was just picking up the ball, and he's not the best passer. So it was just completely nullified. They were like, we don't need to track this guy out of the box anymore. Just keep an eye on Martinelli and Saka and let him just roam into midfield. It's fine. So yeah, he wasn't. Oh God, no more C players as well. I don't want to see any C players signed for us in this summer. Exactly. We need our own identity. Like no more hand-me-downs.
Apart from Haaland.
Yeah. If you want to give us Haaland or De Bruyne, then we can talk. Or Ruben Diaz on Nathan Ake or John Stones. But apart from that, no one else, please.
Then it's a different beast.
Yeah. And but even then, I probably wouldn't. Some of those I'll probably be a bit questionable. I'll be like, wait, what's going on here? Why are they coming to us?
Yeah, what's this? There's a plan. Exactly. Pep knows what he's doing. He lets him go for a reason. Chris loves Martinelli. I thought Martinelli had a fantastic season. I thought he's really come through we've known he's a top young player, but I think has really announced himself this season as being really right up there. He was, I thought, consistent as any of the Arsenal squad actually throughout the year. I don't think his level dropped too much, where one or two of the others, possibly Saka later through the season, did. We've got a question. I'll show you this one first because this is transfer that won't happen, but it was interesting to consider. Kane would be good for Arsenal. Could you imagine? It's not happening, is it, Shah? I don't think so. And a question in as well. Talking of transfers, would you like Declan Rice? Is your heavily
yes, please.
Declan Rice.
Yes, please. I would like Declan Rice. 100%. I'll take him out of the team.
Lovely. It's Rice and please for Lucas there. Rice and please. Because Xhaka's rumoured off, isn't he? So, I can see Rice and Partey. That's not a bad little combination. So, I say, overall the season, you gave us a race, at least in the Premier League. You gave us everyone else something different, something without that. City would have been done ages ago. So, I guess Arsenal were the exciting story for a lot of the season. So So Team 1 is done. Team 2, as we go through my alphabetical list, we're still with the A's, but it's Aston Villa. Aston Villa, Charlotte. What an interesting season they've had. We had Gerrard, and then we've got Emery. What do you make of Aston Villa?
Yeah, they didn't get off to the best of starts under Steven Gerrard, did they? Obviously struggled there. As soon as Emery came in, it just went on the up. Players who weren't performing under Gerrard came back, were like a totally new player. Ollie Watkins being one. They've got a few good signings. I've always thought Aston Villa, they're always one of them teams. They have got really good players, but they just need the right manager in there. And someone like Emery as well. Obviously, they've got the money they can spend. They've got into Europe as well, haven't they? Now, have they got into Europe?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they've had a fantastic season. And I think that's a perfect club for Emery as well. And I think, obviously, him being there and what he can do for that club, I think he could do really, really well, like he's shown this season. And he's only been there not that long, really, has he?
No, it was a top draw appointment because he's he went back to Spain after the Arsenal appointment and done some good things out there. Obviously, Villarreal he won the Europa League you get with, didn't he? Again out there. And he picked things up really quickly, I thought he was very quick in getting things off the mark. Villa turned it around quite quickly. As you said, some of the young players started to come through again. They went a little bit, I don't know, this obsession with Gerrard and Coutinho, I think, seemed to stint everything. He was, since January last year, he was obsessed with that and kept forcing him in. And then it kind of was hindering people like Jacob Ramsey and people like that coming back through again for Villa.
I forgot about Ramsey as well. Yeah, he's done really well.
He did a good, and I think, I don't know what you thought, Lou, because I thought they were kind of a slow burn, a quiet one. We were all looking at Brighton and Brentford and Fulham going, oh, this is great. And then Villa just slowly snuck in, didn't they?
They weren't conceding any goals, like standard Emery, like defending really well. He turned Tyrone Mings into a competent defender.
Yes.
Like, Tyrone Mings was literally one of their best players for the last 3 months. He's just racking up points on FPL as well, and I didn't have it in my team. I was fuming about that. I was like, why have you got Tyrone Mings? Yeah, Charles right. Villa have always had like some good players. They got money. They're a deceptively rich team. Like they spend a lot of money in the summer. They got players on pretty high wages as well, and they've got good draw as well. They've got a lot of clout in Europe, like signing players like Coutinho and things like that. Like they can sign some good players. So I joked about it when I was talking to you and I was saying Pau Torres to Villa, and then I was like, you know what? Villarreal don't have European football. Yeah, and Emery's there. I'm like, let's not get it twisted. Aston Villa can go and spend 60 million on a player. Yeah. Like, they can do it. So that Pau Torres might be a little bit excessive, but you never know. You never know in football these days. But I think he's gonna, now he's got European football, they're gonna it wouldn't be surprised if they don't spend another 150, 200 in the summer, because they got European football. Emery will say to him, look, if you give me the players, I'll win it for you, because look at my track record.
I know this
yeah, exactly. And this is the Conference League. So let's do, Aston Villa can win the Conference League next season. In fact, I'm going to put money on Aston Villa to win the Conference League next season, as long as Emery's still there. So yeah, I think they had the good season. I do like Unai Emery. I really do. He wasn't the right fit for Arsenal, but I do like him. I think he's a top. I think he's an elite coach. And I think he's proven that at the right club, he can really make the difference. Especially in cup competitions. But to get Villa from where they were straight up the table in that short space of time with no additions, and playing his style of football and bringing it to the Premier League and just doing 4-4-2, defensively solid, very fluid in terms of going forward. He's got Ollie Watkins, which is the perfect kind of striker that he likes. It's like the same thing with Lacazette he had, same thing he had with Moreno, except for the height, I'd say with Lacazette, but a striker with a very good first touch will get you a few goals here and then, but isn't, required to do that, but just link up the play. First touch here, one, touch the ball once, lays it off to other players, runs in behind, moves around, presses. So yeah, I like Villa. I think they'll be one to watch this next year to see what they do in the summer, but they could be hanging around that top six very soon.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Emery's problem, the same Craig says in the chat, Emery's problem when he took over from Wenger, same with Moyes at Manchester United. Yeah, clearly a top manager, and I think that's the key bit with not his team. Without the strengthening in January, now he's got the opportunity to stamp that team and to become something. Villa have got that foundations. They've got some good young players in there. Watkins, as we said, Ramsey, Douglas Luiz is a good player too. I think Villa, and you could see them displacing a Tottenham or somebody, in what has been the established top six, should we say. And they're a big club. They've always been a big club. They just kind of been in the doldrums for a bit, and the Gerrard experiment obviously didn't work. So Emery's a great appointment for them. I think they didn't get him because he's gone to PSG. Marco Asensio has been linked with him the other week, and names like this.
But
Villa have got the pull, as you said. So great season for them,
especially with Emery there.
The Conference League,
like with his record in Europe,
his contacts. 100%, and their defensive record, as you said, superb. They conceded sort of 46, so outside of the top four, that's as good as anybody else in the league. So level with Brentford, really good. Struggled with some goal scoring was the one thing slightly that let them down, with only 51 goals all season, but a bit more of one or two in the transfer window.
An attacker, weren't they? Yeah, because when Ramsey came back, they were a bit better going forward. He was injured. They need another striker or someone to play next to Watkins, or rotate with Watkins to offer something else, and we'll see.
We will see. So Aston Villa, they're one for Europe. And next up on the list, I'm just going to go through my alphabetical. Bournemouth. Another that a couple of us may have had them down for relegation early on in the season. Another that possibly surprised us all. Gary O'Neill did the business with Bournemouth. 15th they ended up. Well safe in the end. I mean, they were well and truly on their deck chairs for the last couple of weeks, which is why I think they slipped down. But Gary O'Neill at Bournemouth. Is this a one-season thing, Lucas, or are they? Or can he pull the magic out again?
Is Heather in the chat?
He's not here yet. He's not here yet.
Yeah, they're getting relegated next season. They're getting relegated next season. No, I think it's a one season. I think it's just a one season thing. New manager bounce, and then I wasn't convinced by them. They were picking up wins, and I was just like, I don't know how they're doing this, but fair play to them. Like, they're being very clinical when it mattered. They're not conceding a lot of goals, but ultimately, I just don't think their team's good enough. Then it's not good enough. No, I can't see them. I can't see them staying up. I can't see them being anywhere above that top 15 next season.
Yeah. You wonder long term how it's going to turn out, and they seem to just pick results up just out of nowhere, particularly home results. I mean, they beat Liverpool. I mean, the game they got punted by Liverpool early on in the season, and then they turned around and beat them 1-0, didn't they?
Yeah.
In the reverse, they've caused people trouble all season, and one or two shrewd signings amongst what was they didn't do a lot early doors. It was the whole Scott Parker thing, wasn't it? They didn't have anything to spend. They had a takeover, and he got a bit antsy. He's probably. I mean, what are you thinking now, Shah? If you're Scott Parker sitting at Bournemouth and saying that they didn't have enough to stay up, and there they are in 15th.
I know. To be fair, though, I think Scott Parker kind of did cause the trouble for himself, didn't he? I've never really rated him as a manager as well, Scott Parker. So I think it was the right decision for him to go. But I think Bournemouth will struggle as well next season. I'm not going to say if you're going to get relegated, but I think they'll definitely be down there.
Yeah, you look at sides that are clearly strengthening, sides that have survived, going to do more, people coming up. They've lost some players already. Chris has made a good point. Yeah, Jefferson Lerma's already one who's gone, so that's a massive player. They've got to overturn.
I think obviously you've got to think as well. The teams coming up, like your Burnley, your Sheffield United. I'm not going to say Luton because it's a weird one with Luton because as much as I think they will struggle, they've got the whole thing about the ground in their favour. So I think obviously the parachute payments as well. The teams who are obviously coming up, I think they'll be a lot stronger than Bournemouth. And some of the teams that are obviously just survived this season.
There's some good sides, you say, coming up. And we've got to look at this season. All three stayed up. All three stayed up for the first time in God knows how long. That all three stayed up. And you've got three very different kinds of sides coming up too. So could be trouble. But I think if you're just Bournemouth, you're just happy the first season's gone all right, haven't you?
Yeah,
enjoy
definitely.
the summer. I mean, Bournemouth's not a bad place to be in the summer anyway. But when you stayed in the Premier League, then they'll be having a lovely time, I'm sure. Next up, Brentford. Brentford were another one who I think second season syndrome. We all thought this could be a bit tricky, but wow, again a top half finish. on the verge. They almost made Europe as well, which again is kind of dreamland for Brentford to be in that position. Ivan Toney was fantastic, and now obviously they've got a different issue, but they also had that kind of in the background, and you see that hungover club sometimes. It didn't really, I don't know what you thought, because Tony's form didn't really seem to dip, did it?
Yeah, that was probably my most inaccurate prediction at the beginning of the season was Brentford to get relegated. Brentford and West Ham are the two I got completely wrong. Just swap them around, basically. That's what it would have been. Yeah. But no, I thought, what it was? I just saw Sheffield when I looked at Brentford last season. I saw Sheffield United. I saw the exact same, even the same system. Very similar to what Sheffield played when they got promoted. With similar profiles of players, although Sheffield didn't have an Ivan Toney figure when they got promoted. They didn't have a consistent goal scorer. And I should have thought about that, because if you've got a consistent goal scorer in the Premier League, you're not getting relegated. You can have the worst defense. You're not getting relegated if you've got a guy scoring 15 goals for you. Yeah. It's not going to happen. So Toney just flew, and he's a brilliant footballer. And even when he was missing, and Mbeumo stepped up, and they've got some good players on the bench. You come into they bring on the same sort of players around like the 60th, 70th minute and offer a different dynamic, and they're solid. They've just got some very, very solid footballers in that team and a very good coach. So yeah, Brentford look like they're here to stay. But we'll see how they start next season without Toney, because it could be different starting this season. Having him go towards the end, but starting this season without Toney is different, because again, those guys can step in towards the end when you're safe and you're secure. When you're at the beginning of the season, it's like everyone's on 0 points. When we're missing our best player, that's a different proposition. So they could struggle a bit at the beginning of the season. But yeah, I think Brentford, they're tough to beat. Brentford.
They are tough to beat. At home, they're a nightmare. Yeah. I guess the only way they can look at the Toney situation is they possibly would have lost him, wouldn't they, in the summer? If this wasn't for this thing, there'd be some, I just think they've been linked to Newcastle, to Manchester United, to probably all those teams. I think would be sniffing around. So, but to set up a team knowing then your star man comes back in the second half, it's probably quite a difficult way to kind of deal with things. So yeah, Thomas Frank's done a fantastic job. Alongside it, they've got a good squad of players in there. They've got a good nucleus, and they're starting to gain Premier League experience, which is kind of what Brighton were doing, and now looking at where Brighton are too. They kind of have had a similar kind of trajectory as well. So they've done very good. And of course, they've just signed a Rochdale player, so Brentford are on to bigger things undoubtedly with that signing. And Heather's here. Heather has just missed the Bournemouth chat. So Lucas says don't watch back what you said about next season. Don't watch it back. So welcome, thank you for joining us, Heather. Lovely to have you as always. So Brentford, very good season. They just missed out. A team that didn't miss out, that did the business, Brighton and Hove Albion. I think they've all become a little soft spot for Brighton and Hove Albion, and the way they've done things. We had Graham Potter at the start of the season and thought, okay, Potter to Chelsea, good night Vienna. Roberto De Zerbi comes in. What a season they've had, sharp. Brighton, wow. How do you go about that?
I thought they'd struggle, obviously, when Potter left, because he's been there for so many years, hasn't he? And he's kind of like built them up. But when he's come in, he's done brilliant. And I just think the whole recruitment at Brighton, whoever's behind that, has done a fantastic job, because some of these gems that they've pulled out of nowhere, it's just brilliant, isn't it? Just I love watching them play. I just like seeing a club that has built themselves up and got themselves to the position they're in, because I remember them playing us, in League Two a few seasons ago, and just how they've built themselves up and got there. It's just fantastic to see, but it's just amazing, seeing these clubs, and it's not as if it's been like a one season wonder. They've gone from strength to strength each season. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching Brighton next season. Obviously, they've lost McAllister now. He's gone to Liverpool, but for recruitment and who they've obviously recruited in recent seasons, I don't think that will be a massive problem for them.
As a lower league franchise, does teams like Brighton, do they inspire the lower league, and so you're looking at them and you almost feel more affiliation because you're like, they've made the run? I'm saying lower league because technically we haven't started next season.
Well, if it was another team, then yeah, I don't think we'll go anywhere near Brighton. I'm just happy to get back to League Two right now. But yeah, it is really good. And like I said, we were playing the likes of like your Bournemouths, your Brightons, not that long ago, your Lutons as well. So it is fantastic to see. So yeah, I'm really happy for Brighton. I really am.
They've been superb. And one thing has been their recruitment, not just of players, of managers as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
true,
Potter
yeah.
and then De Zerbi, but we've all spoken many times on the pod about the McAllisters, the Matomas, the Stupinan, the level of talent they've in. That Enciso comes in towards the end of the season, you're like, oh, they've got another one that's quite good as well. Mm-hmm. They've been absolutely fantastic with their recruitment. And I think with other clubs, I don't know what you think, Lucas, but other clubs you'd worry someone like McAllister going, but with Brighton you go, I'm pretty sure they've got a long list of.
They've probably already got their replacement. Just
their
just
FM
waiting.
shortlist ain't bad, is it?
They were playing what's his name, and Enciso was playing there, and he looked fine. So yeah, I wouldn't. They can sell whoever they want. They'll be. I mean, there's a limit on how long you can do that. Look at Leicester.
Yeah.
So, but for this, for now, I think they're okay. But at some point, they're gonna have to make a choice as to whether they want to properly reinvest or they'll be fighting relegation at some point when, if De Zerbi goes and they get a manager who hasn't quite clicked and they haven't got the right set of players, that system doesn't quite work long term. But they're like everyone's favorite team, as they say. I think their team of the season, just in terms of football, like how they played, the consistency throughout the entire season, and just some of the exciting players they've got, and some of the football, and like even the goals that they scored and things like that, and some of the moments, like. I think they were the favorite team for most people this season. If you had to pick one, Brian. So, yeah, I like their players. I like them. I don't like Brian, but I like their players.
It's like fun to watch. Sanchez as well, who's obviously their goalkeeper. A couple of seasons ago, we were on loan from Brighton playing for us, and it's mad to see just some step he's took up now. It's just mental. So I'm sure it was only like 3-4 seasons ago. Like. It wasn't that long.
Yeah, they've got a number of players that are amongst those kind of more recognised signings that they've made that are sort of stuck in, that have come up, the Lewis Dunks, etc. They've been with them for a long time coming through that. So they've just been so exciting to watch. The squad's another one that you're going to go, okay, with Europe, because Europe can have a massive effect next season. And we've seen it in recent seasons with, say Burnley were in Europe, and then they kind of had a downturn off of that. Even Leicester, now you look at that, and has Europe damaged them over the last couple of seasons? West Ham this season have struggled while contending with the Conference League. It's a different animal, but I don't know. I just think it will be exciting. Could be fireworks. Brighton in Europe could be fireworks with the way that they play, and a number of those players have got European experience. Players like Matona came from the Bundesliga, and a lot of them have been about in Europe. So it won't be.
Haven't they signed James Milner as well? Isn't that like a done deal?
Milner Lallana there now.
Yeah,
Milton, it is. It's the Liverpool. It's the Liverpool retirement home. We're going to call it. Yeah. I mean, Milner for McAllister is there was some money involved in that switch too. But
tell you is good though. That striker they've got, Evan Ferguson, he's good.
Oh yeah,
he looks good. Like he looks like
look good.
He might get himself a cheeky bid from a top club in the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, I think so. I think the injury probably made him slip slightly more under the radar at the end of the season. Otherwise, it could have been this summer. But I think that'll keep him at least a summer now. Be wow. So as Chris says, Sanchez now in the Spain squad regularly. So they've got some depth, because they're playing Steele, weren't they, at the end of the season as well?
Who again made some amazing saves for them.
Yeah. Just came out of nowhere. So fantastic season for Brighton. And going from a team that played a fantastic season to a team that have not played a very fantastic season, have played a very dreadful season. They have Brighton's manager. They don't have Brighton's manager. They now have a new manager. Lucas, Chelsea, put that smile away.
Can we just laugh?
Todd Bowley FC. They've gone away with murder this season. The fact that no one's given them. They really, because this is just like, it's kind of like It's kind of a knock on Chelsea in the fact that like they're not getting as much shit as they should be for the fact that they've completely tanked the season and been an absolute joke. Can you imagine if this was United, Arsenal, Liverpool?
We'd be getting killed, absolutely crucified.
It would. No one would stop. No one would stop talking about it. But the fact that it's Chelsea, it just goes to show. That's all I'm saying. Just goes to show. Because if that was us, you wouldn't hear the end of it every single week. You wouldn't hear the end of it. Whereas Chelsea have fallen under the radar. But I think there's also a little bit of like people expect them to come back because they've done it before. They're such like
a Chelsea roller coaster.
Yeah, it's like it's in there. It's in there. The last 20 years. This is Abramovich's reign, but it's not Abramovich anymore. So I don't know if they will bounce back the same way. But they've been an embarrassment this year, and they've kind of proven money doesn't get you success in football, which most people kind of knew. But it was like you can spend as much as you want. If you don't spend it in the right areas, it's not going to do anything. But they've got some very good players. I mean, the Lampard decision, what the hell? So, yeah, the ownership is all over the place. They have got some good players. See what they do with Poch if they stick it out with him. But Chelsea, they're not used to projects. Like, this isn't what Chelsea do. So I don't see it working. I don't see the fan base accepting Pochettino coming in and going, well, we're going to finish 8th this year. Then we're going to finish probably 5th or 4th next year. No trophies, but we're slow. I don't think Chelsea fans are used to that. It's not the club that they support. So I don't know what is next for Chelsea, but yeah, it could be a long time before they get back in that conversation. But again, you don't know. They do have some good players and a couple of decent signs in the summer. You know, Poch, I don't think Poch is good enough to even win them anything of significance. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I would have loved if they got relegated. That'd been funny, but yeah, they were an embarrassment this year. That was the worst season that any team has had pound for pound in their history. Was Chelsea this year because of the fact that they spent 600 million and finished 12th.
And finished 12th behind a practically almost relegated Crystal Palace at one point, as well as other teams that kind of overtook them as well. I mean, they were an embarrassment. Say Finbar Owens saying if they play like that next year, definitely relegation. Yeah. I think the worry is they'll come back. As you said, there's quality in the squad. There's quality in that squad. There's good players, but again, there's just so many. There's so many.
There's a lot,
and there's a
but
lot.
They tank it.
They do.
It's their culture. It's like they're like a American team. They're like if they're not going to win, they just tank the season. And you got players who are used to that style, and there's just a culture of Chelsea. It's like you can just tell they just can't be arsed. They're like, well, we're not going to win the league or the Champions League, so what's the point?
That's why the Lampard thing maybe makes sense because you're like, we need someone to throw under the bus, so let's have
exactly
under the bus.
Take the hit for the players. That's true, actually.
Take the hit. Let Poch come in, clean slate. You know, everyone's crucified as the previous year, and we'll go again.
Poch can only do better than Lampard.
Just think though, as well, most of these players are on 8-year contracts, so we've got them for ages.
God,
I mean,
some were, some are good, but some are just like that Sterling one. Finbar's just Sterling is just another system player. Like it's like he's not a bad player, but he's a system player. He looked better than he was in that Pep system. Pep created a system that helped him get goals like over and over again consistently. But you see it when he plays for England, and even though he is pretty good for England, he's not the guy you want to rely on to lead your attack. You want him just poaching at the back post, and he'll get goals in the right position, but. Yeah, at Chelsea, they're passing him the ball and trying to get him to create, and it's just not working. But yeah, Madueke, I think, is a very good player. Enzo Fernandez is a very good player. And Nkunku is a very good player. Fofana, I'm not quite sure if this was a one-season thing at Leicester because he's looked really, really shaky. Cucurella, I think, is gone. They're talking about they need to get rid. And then who else have they've got to get a right back. Reece James's legs looks like he might be struggling with long-term injuries now.
But this is like what you said with Chelsea and getting away with it. Like Cucurella, they bought Cucurella for ridiculous money.
Yeah.
Imagine like if we sold Anthony this summer, having bought him last summer, we'd be getting absolutely crucified for that expenditure just chucked out the window and we go again. And it's bonkers, absolutely bonkers. But it didn't get him nothing. But they've got no Europe next season. They've got nothing now, so they've got time to knuckle down. Poch he's also inheriting a team which isn't anybody's team. It's a Todd Bowley mismatch of whatever, but there should be enough within there for him to go, right, forget about the rest of this, move that out, and then focus on this piece here, and you can get something out of it. So I think this is the worry. We all know how Chelsea work. That this next season they could be a different prospect, but this season, D-, E, F, however far down the alphabet you want to go. Terrible season for Chelsea fans. A terrible season turned good. Crystal Palace were in some serious trouble, and they've gone and finished above Chelsea. They've had a phenomenal run. We joked at the time about Roy Hodgson-Shah, but I think that was more the case of the fact that the man's earned his retirement. But
I know.
As much as we can say a manager impact, what's happened there? Crystal Palace are 11th. They finished 11th.
It was me and my big mouth again. Honestly, the amount of times I say something and then they prove me wrong. But I just think it's mental. He's like Mr. Crystal Palace, isn't it? Like, it's as if it's been a mad season for it, hasn't it? Like bringing the managers back of ex-clubs and them obviously like doing a bit, but I just think it's mental how he's managed that. But Vieira, obviously, and you think of Patrick Vieira and just the difference, I don't know, it's just mind-blowing.
Well, the 3 games before Vieira got the sack, they hadn't had a shot on goal, did they? I think there was a crazy stat. And then the next game, they had more shots than anybody else in the league or something at that point in the season.
Roy Hodgson ball.
It's the Roy charm. The Roy charm.
He knows how to get the best out of that set of players, but then they need to start looking for a manager soon.
Yeah.
Vieira was good, but it was just he was trying to play a system that he didn't have the players for. He knew they played some good football at times, like really good football with when players were fit and he had the right combination. But the majority of that team, you could tell, just weren't on the same page. And I think he definitely probably regrets he didn't use. I think the biggest thing when I looked at it was like, why were you not playing Eze?
Yeah,
like, it was his underutilization of Eze was a big question mark because we all knew how quality he was from that first season at Palace, and then now look, he's an unreal footballer.
He stepped up and he's been massive to say everyone's giving Roy some love in the chat, and rightly so.
Yeah, go on Palace.
Lovely season. So we'll see who they get in the summer. They'll pick out a new manager and probably give Roy a call again in March when it doesn't work out again. And this can be his little sort of 2 months, and then he'll go off for the summer and have a lovely time. So Crystal Palace at some stage, I think we were really worried about them, but they finished well safe. Good season for Crystal Palace in the end. Next, after Crystal Palace, was a team who were struggling right to the end of the final day. Everton looked in some serious trouble. They went and appointed an absolute legend, of course, in Sean Dyche. And Sean Dyche did what Sean Dyche does and keeps teams in the Premier League by hook or by crony. They're in there. So Everton are still a Premier League club. But is it going to get better for Everton, Lucas? Is this... and massively, they needed this financially, didn't they, with the stadium coming? But
I can't believe they survived.
What do you make of Everton?
I hope Kira's not watching because I can't stand Everton. I used to really like them when Moyes was the manager. Actually, I think a few people did because they were a tough side, and they didn't have they didn't have like stars. But they were very nasty, but they were like a Sunday league team that just was always up for it, especially if you're a big side. And even there's still an element of that with Everton. Like they always give us a bit of problem. They give you a little bit of a problem as well sometimes. So it always feels like a bit of a big game when we play Everton, Arsenal, Everton, United, Everton. Always feels a bit like there's something on the line. But they've been run. It's been really, really badly run for years, and this is kind of the culmination of it. And they just about made it, but they've got a big summer because this is. Next season, they won't. Yeah, it's not going to go the same way. So they've got to figure it out, and I don't really know how they figure it out. They got I don't really know who they sign. I don't know what manager's going to come in there. I'm confused as to where Everton go from here, or if it's a case of we just need to survive for the next 2-3 seasons and then work in the background and see.
They're such a question mark, aren't they? I mean, that's the second season in a row they've survived on the last day. Yeah. But I think they're a bit like when Villa are down there. They believe they should be higher, but at the minute, not really based on any merit, bar history. I think, as you said, we remember Everton and they seem to give us the games. But this Everton's just a completely different team now. And You've got Dyche in there. What can Dyche do over the summer? Can he bring anybody in? What's he going to do long term with Everton? Perhaps now he gets the opportunity to see. So that might be something they hope. But they are, they are a team longest reign in the top flight. They've still
I
managed
think
to
they'll
do
struggle.
Yeah,
I think they'll really struggle. I think the only thing they've really got going for him is Dyche, and obviously he's been in that position before, but you can't just put everything on him because obviously it's a back room. I think they need changes like behind the scenes for it to obviously get better, and right now I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, you look at some of the signings that they've kind of made as well. You think that they had Connor Cody, who they've, the loan deal, they've just pulled him back. In theory, he thought he was going from Wolves up to Everton, didn't he? He thought that was a step up to it, and it's not. You look at where Wolves are miles ahead of where Everton have been this season. You've got someone like Luca Dino, who was at Aston Villa, moved to Everton again, thinking it's a step up. It's not. Everton's name and stigma is still there, but there's just nothing. They've not been able to put anything together, and Dyche will make them a different. What he needs to do is probably go back to that Moyes kind of style. I think make them difficult to beat, make them nasty. I think he understands that, but he just hasn't got a squad of players.
He's got the players, yeah.
I'm worried for him. I honestly think they could possibly go down next season. I think the only thing saving grace for them is obviously some of it. I think obviously at Luton, I don't know if they'll obviously do as well, but I think Everton will really struggle, and I feel like it's got worse and worse, and it's always down to the last game, isn't it? And I think obviously now I really don't see them doing better. I think they will be in a relegation battle.
I think it is funny how everyone knows it's just like, well, Luton are going to take one of those places.
I know.
So there's only two spots.
Do you know what, though? I feel bad, but part of me thinks maybe... I know, part of me thinks maybe their ground, obviously we've got to do some changes, but that may work in their favour.
Yeah, it's going to be horrible. Teams hate those grounds. It's like the Dell. People used to hate the Dell. Like,
they're going
close,
to get destroyed in the Premier League next season. Oh, poor Luton.
I know.
I'm almost. I don't know. I'm going to wait. I need to wait until the summer comes.
I mean, the ground might be quite uncomfortable for the away teams. That's the thing. It might be quite an uncomfortable ground for away teams to go to because so but otherwise, I just think everyone's looking at it like, well, one spot's definitely going to Luton. So 18.
So I
think Forest as well. I think Forest will go down. Obviously, they've not done any business yet, but I think they'll struggle as well.
Yeah, I think if we go back 12 months, we probably were saying the same about Forest, but we knew they had money and we knew that they could do some bits, and so I'm not too sure what Luton are going to do before making any crazy predictions. I'm half tempted to say that they're going to stay up just because it'd just be a story.
Money with that.
Yeah.
Somebody shouting out the attic window.
Luton to stay up and Villa to win the Conference League sounds like a good early double.
Taunting Haaland out of the attic.
Absolutely, who knows? As we welcome say, Mr. Lucas joined the chat. He's watched some of our previous streams, enjoying them quite a bit. He's a Gateshead fan with a bit of interest in the Premier League. So yeah, he'll be able to follow that next season, hopefully on our new lower league show, Gateshead and Rochdale in the National League. Yep, that will be coming up next season. And Finbar Owen says the Mad Hatters will stay up. There you go, another person back in Luton to stay. But they're not there yet. We've still got the rest of the teams to go through in the Premier League. Fulham are up next. Fulham had a good season. Fulham did well. They were another we thought might struggle, but Marcus Silva's got a good little team there with some top players, I think. So, Charlotte, did you see? Was that a surprise for you? Fulham doing as well as they did?
It was a surprise seeing them do as well as they did. I had them comfortably up there, safety. I thought they've learned, obviously, from the previous seasons. Mitrovic were obviously on a high, coming up from the Championship. I think, did he break the record of goals in the Championship? So I thought he was on a high. Obviously, the manager. So I thought they'd be comfortable up there, but I didn't expect them to finish where they did. I think it was a fantastic season for them.
It really was. They were another that were tough to beat. I remember watching that opening game against Liverpool and thinking, okay, Liverpool aren't quite at this, but this Fulham, there's a decent side there. He's got some and players he had in there. They brought in some one or two good players. Paulinho in midfield was super. How good was Andres Pereira this season? Willian
was outstanding for them this year.
Madness, absolute madness.
Even that the Spurs striker they signed was really good when Mitrovic was out. Carlos Vinicius, I was watching him playing that. I was like, this guy's actually pretty good, like as a striker. Like he's quick, strong, like tall, and like
Mhm.
can finish as well. And I was like, this guy's decent. He looked awful at Spurs, but it might just be Spurs.
They've picked up like all the rejects from other clubs,
Yeah,
haven't they?
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
put a good
It's a
team
safe
together.
haven.
Yeah.
It has.
I do like
bring them
Fulham.
all together.
I really liked
I
them
like
in the
Fulham.
2000s
I like Fulham.
when they're in the Prem.
Yeah, I did.
Same.
I've always had that. Fulham's been my granddad's team. They won the first league team
I
I ever
used
watched.
to,
I've got a
I
thing
used
for
to love
Fulham.
Clint Dempsey.
Oh,
Do you remember
Clint
Clint
Dempsey,
Dempsey?
what a
I
legend.
loved
Brian
him.
McBride and Clint Dempsey.
Yeah.
in
Brian
American
McBride, Clint
contingent.
Dempsey, yeah.
Absolutely.
Berbatov was Fulham, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Berbatov went to Fulham. Yeah.
Louis Saha as well,
Darren
wasn't
Bent. Was
Louis
Darren Bent Fulham?
Saha. Darren Bent
Yeah.
did go to Fulham for a bit.
Darren
Yeah.
Bent.
They had like
Louis
Mark,
Saha,
they
yeah.
had Edwin
Yeah.
van der Sar. Do you remember? Before he
Edwin
went to
van der
Yes,
Wigan?
Sar,
they
yeah.
did.
Madness.
Chris Smalling.
Yeah.
The legend that is.
They've always had some very quirky, good players. Like they've always had some overperformers in that team, and they've given it a go. I like for them, but yeah, I thought they were going to stay up. I didn't think it'd be as good as that, but I thought they would stay up because of the Mitrovic factor. I thought it was like he's going to have a good season, and then some of the signings they made, Polina as well. I was like, yeah, they'll be all right. But they smashed it.
They've been doing superbly well, and so just come up in the chat. Hangerland and Hughes,
Hangerland,
yeah.
bloody
Breda,
hell.
Hanger, Big Breda, whoa, Big Breda, Hangerland. What a legend he was. Clint Dempsey, the first American to score hat trick in the Premier
loved
League. Yes,
him.
he was.
Who
And
was
say,
that? Canute, that was another player they had. Freddie
yeah.
Canute.
Freddie Canute. I got some classics, absolute
Classics.
classics.
love it.
Luis
All agreed.
Boamorte.
Luis Boamorte. We all love Fulham, is what we
Oh,
decided.
Zamora. I can't forget Bobby Zamora.
Oh,
as well.
Zamora. We need to do an all about Fulham just so we can talk
Would you?
about these
Would you?
players.
Yeah. Just be us just reeling off old footballers from
Yeah.
like the early 2000s. Yeah, we all love
Mid-table
Fulham.
legends. That's what they are.
Yes.
Absolutely. Apart from Chris doesn't like them. He can't stand them. But, we all like different things. We all have opinions. That's fine. That's what this podcast is all about. So Fulham, fantastic season. We love Fulham. Next up, a team that are no longer in the Premier League. They went down. They went down with Big Sam and a big pay packet as well. Leeds United, 500 grand he got, or something rumoured for 4 games, in which he drew 1 and lost 3. Unbelievable. Leeds are down and look like they're in a terrible way because there's all sorts of discussions and things coming out of the owner now. I saw something about that hasn't he put Elland Road against the purchase of Sampdoria or something as well.
Really?
After what Leeds have been through, the fan base to get back to where they are.
They could
just some
disappear
shocking
again.
things. They could disappear again. But what do we make of their season this season, Charlotte? Leeds, I always thought they'd struggle, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I thought obviously after Bielsa and stuff, but then not replacing Bielsa and obviously bringing in Jesse Marsh, I thought was a huge mistake.
Mhm.
And then obviously they've just been awful all season. Like some of the mistakes they've made, some of the chances they've missed, some of the defending has just been awful. It's just been, I sound harsh, but it's just been like a bit of a circus, hasn't it, this season for Leeds? Like manager-wise, on the pitch, bringing Big Sam in for 4 games. Obviously, one of them being Manchester City, paying him that much money. I just don't understand Leeds at the moment. I think we're in a really, really, really struggling time, and I don't know what to expect with them in the Championship either next season. I think they could possibly struggle.
Yeah, they've had a rough kind of 2 years really since they first came up, and they had that Bielsa kind of crazy style football, which was entertaining. I always thought once Bielsa went, such a difficult type of football to undo and to be doing anything else when Bielsa's not the helm. And it seemed that way. Jesse Marsh struggled to kind of get any kind of tune out of them. They bought some a real random bunch of players, it seemed, in the summer. There wasn't I couldn't really put my finger on what Leeds were trying to do a lot of the time. Strategy-wise, they had, Patrick Bamford injured again for a period of the season and then come back not really doing a lot. They don't really have a goal scorer. They concede for fun. They just, all over were struggling. Really were struggling. I think I agree, Sean. They could be struggling next season too.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a few people have them coming straight back up, but I don't see it. Apart from the thing is that they've got quite a few young players who aren't quite on the radar yet, but are very good quality, like Nonto, Sinistera, who you could think they could probably convince to stick around for another year. They've just arrived in England. They could probably, and I think if they stick with those kind of players, add a few championship like experienced championship players around it, then I can see why people are saying they're going to come up. And some of the defenders they've got, you know, they're decent. They've got experienced players, but the football was just awful. They're the worst team in the league. I'm sorry. It's not Southampton. It was Leeds. Leeds
it was
just awful. Like, just when you look at it, just like any team that was playing Leeds, I was like, I didn't have one game in the whole season where I thought Leeds would win. You just like, you know, you have a one game, you're like, Southampton could probably win this. There was not one game where Leeds were playing a team and I was like, Leeds could probably win this. Like, Leeds are going to lose or draw. Like, they're just awful. So I don't know. I worry for them, but it was nice having them come up because they were exciting when they came up, and I like when teams do that and just go for it. And then it wasn't sustainable with Bielsa.
Yeah,
if you sack Bielsa with that, you've got to get a similar mold of manager who's a bit more progressive. The Jesse Marsch thing, like, I don't know why Jesse Marsch is this highly rated manager, because he's got no style of play whatsoever. So I'm very confused with that. And then Big Sam was just like, it was just a panic, wasn't it?
Kitchen sink, wasn't it? It was just like, what do we do?
Like, he hasn't done that for years, so that
worries me as well, because I think this next managerial appointment is vital, because obviously from previous, I think they have to get it right this time.
Yeah, and if the owner's doing all sorts of crazy stuff in the background, you've got a real worrying shit.
You know, I think they should get Hassan Hüttl.
He would be a steal. He would be a steal.
I think they should try and get him.
I mean, for me, he's a Premier League caliber for sure. You know,
100%.
If you're anybody in that bottom half looking to change, I'd be looking at Hassan Hüttl for sure over anybody else like that. Leeds, that'd be a coup if they could get him. Who knows? Maybe they need a Gerrard or a Lampard. Maybe that's the next.
Or phone Roy Hodgson.
Super.
Go and do it, Leeds. I know you want to. Go and get Lampard. Do it.
Leeds and Lampard. Do it. It'll be entertaining. It'll be great fun.
Do it.
Unless you're a Leeds fan, then it probably will be horrendous. And another team that have really massively fallen from grace. One that none of us would have predicted at the start of the season, but got progressively worse. Brendan Rodgers took a long time to be sacked, didn't he, Shah? I mean, I know that was too long. That was the problem. You see, if you'd have listened to Shah early on, the Rodgers thing would have been. But Leicester City have gone from champions down to relegated in, I don't know, how many seasons is it since they've won it? 5, 6, something like that.
2015 they won it, right?
2015. Oh, it's honestly longer, isn't it? 7, 8, but I mean, they'd had decent seasons, but this was just a real absolute fall off. Lucas, how do we begin to explain what happened to Leicester this season?
Just similar like Everton, there's just in the background there was, but I don't know how much of it could have been helped. Obviously, the owner passed away, and then I think post that, it was tricky because his son took over, right? And I think the direction of the club obviously is going to change. And I think they didn't quite handle that because there was a lot going on with the lack of expenditure. I think 2 seasons in a row they barely spent anything in the summer, even with selling players. Like, they just weren't spending money. It was really strange. Was it 2 seasons or one season maybe? But yeah, this summer they didn't spend anything, and that was a big red flag when they spent nothing this summer. It was like, hold on a moment, this might be it for them. But they had good players, but they just struggled. Injuries, the ones that could have kept them up. And I think sacking Rodgers was the wrong call, to be honest. I don't think anyone would have come in at that point. I think Rodgers probably could have kept them up. But yeah, Leicester are in trouble, you know. I think they're going to lose all of their best players because a lot of them were on their way to go. So they're definitely going now because they've all got release clauses as well. And Maddison's available for like 30 million, I think, with the release clause. It's absolute steal. Tielemans is free.
Someone.
Players like Ndidi, these guys they're gone. All of them are going. And I think Leicester are going to be. I worry for Leicester. You know, I do. I think I don't know if they come straight back up.
It's a worrying time. I mean, and so you had players that, in amongst those that kind of didn't perform, that still kind of did. I mean, I was looking at Maddison's numbers earlier. He had 19 goal contributions in terms of goals and assists, which was putting him almost in the top 10 of the Premier League.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've still got a player there. I think we've all called Maddison to Newcastle for about a season and a half. Could be this summer.
There's some surprises awaiting, yeah. But like Vardy's what, 35 now, 36?
Vardy's 35.
Harvey Barnes will go.
Yeah. Harvey Barnes scored 13 goals this season as well. He's not a bad total for someone either. Harvey Barnes.
So they'll get raided.
Player. Yeah, everyone's going to be all over the Leicester place. So who knows what kind of state they're going to be in when they start the Championship next season? Particularly if I do think they get some money for these, But as you said, they're going to be at knockoffs. If you'd have sold Maddison in January last summer, you're going to be getting 2-3 times the price you're probably going to get for him this summer, aren't you? So madness. So yeah, Leicester.
I even think Schmeichel, like, he was a loss.
Yeah.
I really do think he was a big loss for him. Not even just on the pitch, just like him in general. Like, he's been there, obviously, is quite big in the dressing room and stuff like that. And I think just losing him on and off the pitch has been massive for them.
That was a weird.
It does make a big difference.
That was weird.
Yeah, that was big.
To let someone like that go.
Yeah.
When you're struggling, they're the players you look to, aren't they? There's you need your Kasper Schmeichels and your whatever to pull everyone together.
And it's out of nowhere as well.
This is what makes me think as well, maybe, do they have money issues because they're not spending? Like, obviously, they're getting the money, but, like, they're not really putting it back in, have they? So it makes me think, like,
they were one of the ones after COVID.
Yeah.
They
struggled. Yeah,
they did. They struggled after COVID, which, funny enough, you can watch our All About Leicester episodes where Chris of the Leicester podcast took through all about COVID. If you want to learn about what happened with Leicester's finances, he does go through it. The COVID issues that they had and the finances. The transfer window, big worry there when nothing got spent, and then the quality they had just didn't tell through, and it all just fell to pieces from there. So Leicester sadly have been relegated for them. So and a lot of love for Schmeichel. And Schmeichel, very underrated, probably the best keeper outside the top three. He's been around for a long time now, Kasper Schmeichel. To the extent where, when you have a massive footballing dad that was in there, that was kind of the early comparison. But you don't think about that now. You just think of Kasper Schmeichel being a top Premier League goalkeeper on his own, to be fair. So we've done Leicester. Now we're moving over to a team where the man who would love to talk about it is not here, but a team that also fell. They haven't got enough grief either, in my opinion. Liverpool in 5th place. From second.
I might be the only one who thinks
the Premier League have ever seen.
On for the quad.
On for the quads, and then they pulled both their quads.
They definitely need to get some stick for Liverpool because they've been awful this season. At least they have been. Even with that run at the end, it wasn't that convincing.
Take the last 10 games out, and the Manchester United ridiculous smashing that they received. Poor.
But I actually think Europa League is a blessing for them. I think they need a break.
Yeah.
I think they just need a break. They need a break
refresh.
They need a refresh. And I think in order to do that, you can't do that with Champions League. I think it's been proven now over the last decade, you can't rebuild with Champions League football. Or at least, who's done it? Who's rebuilt in that phase from Arsenal haven't done it. Arsenal had to drop out. Chelsea have had to drop. Well, Chelsea's slightly different. Spurs, I mean, doesn't really count. United, you kind of had to. Well, you had you kind of one season, 1 or 2, 2 seasons in Europa League.
Yeah, we'd one kind of yo-yoed a little bit for a couple of seasons.
Yeah. I think consistently being in that, playing your first team twice a week. And Liverpool obviously get through their group. They usually tend to get to that quarterfinal or semi. I think it's a lot, and I think their players are tired. The managers, I think this will be good for them. I think they need a break. They'll be able to rest their players a bit more and rotate with the Europa League, and they could be. I'm a little bit worried for them in the Prem next season. I think they'll be pretty good. I think McAllister signing is it means business. Yeah. It's they've addressed an area of concern. There's other areas of the pitch, but that McAllister one, that's a great start. Great start.
I think we all said it through the year. You sort that midfield out, you've got a whole different team again. You've got a whole different team again with Liverpool. I do. I think I'm enjoying this moment at the minute because I don't think it will be this case next season. No. If you'd have said as a United fan would have finished above Liverpool, where Liverpool were at. But next season, I do think that we'll be seeing, and they'll be fired up for it. This season, they just look leggy and everything else. Bit of rejuvenation in the right places. They just struggled, it seemed. Injuries, they did have a few injuries.
Diaz were out for the most season.
A lot up top. Nunes took a long time to kind of bed in, and it's still kind of not sure where he fits in that front pit, in that front portion. They lost Mane, which is a massive, and Robertson just seems to look sad down the left-hand side. He looks to be just.
Do you think he could come back? Because Bayern Munich don't want him, apparently. Do you reckon Mane
is on the transfer list? Yeah.
It would cause a Imagine having Mane back as well. How are they going to fit all that in? Mane, Jota,
That's true.
Diaz.
Yeah, that's
Firmino,
true.
They got
Firmino's
too many,
gone,
but otherwise, I think it would work him coming back. But I think a Prem team should be all over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think alarm bells with Mane being available. Still got a top quality player there.
Yeah,
Liverpool have missed him this season amongst others, but they seem to have. Klopp seems to be trying to address the Trent thing. I mean, we were screaming for it for 6 months, so I'm not having that. He's now a tactical genius because he's changed Trent's position. When for 6 months we've been saying he's not a right back. You need to change this up a little
He's
bit.
got to play in
Talent's
midfield.
there. You got to get him on the ball, but you don't want him in those kind of defensive areas. And if you can work that problem out with your midfield that you're bringing in as well, then they're again another danger. And they've still got Mo Salah, who's amongst still the best players in the world.
Mane to Arsenal. You know what?
Oh, there's a rumour, isn't it?
That would be good.
Oh,
Because we actually need. Yeah.
Oh.
Could you push
For
Martinelli
rotation.
up top? Martinelli, Mane,
Or you just
Saka?
have Mane and Martinelli for that left wing. Mane can probably play on any of that front three as well.
Oof.
That would be
Bringing
quality.
that experience. That would actually be. I wouldn't be
That would
mad
be
at
good.
that at all.
Mane to Arsenal. There you go.
That's
Mikhail,
tasty.
get on the phone. So Liverpool, they dropped out off the Champions League. I don't think any of us really saw that would kind of come with how good that they've been in recent seasons. Massively dropped off. But yeah, the juggernaut's still there. They'll still be back. And the back end of the season's kind of proved they're starting to put some stuff
Yeah,
together.
we're going to say they did put. Yeah, they put a good run together, didn't they? Because obviously they didn't have a great start to the season, but obviously getting fifth, nearly fourth, didn't they, at one point as well? They came pretty close. So yeah, I think they've done well to come back.
They have, and got themselves in the fifth. They almost snuck into Champions League places, and it may benefit them by next season. A team that are boring me. They're boring me with all the winning all the time. Manchester City, again through the league, bit slow starting as usual, and then after January, the juggernaut came together. They bought Erling Haaland in the summer, and we all went, "Oh no!" And then here we are, 12 months later, going, "Oh no!" It's just getting to the point where you're thinking it's going to take an awful lot to overturn where that team is at the minute. Cycles end and things change, and football's not stagnant forever. But they're just so difficult to play against. I was watching the final on Saturday. I was just looking at it, going, "How many ways they had to hurt us." Just with and then you looked at the bench and you went, "Oh, come on, Mahrez, Foden, Alvarez." It's horrible. It's horrible. And they look like they're going to be on the verge of a treble. I mean, what do we say about Manchester City's season, Charlotte? That hasn't already been said.
I just think they're just a cheat code, aren't they? Just everything about them, like Pep Guardiola is just a genius, and they've just got everything, haven't they, really, Manchester City? And even from a lower league fan, I'm getting frustrated watching them win everything. I really am. I just want someone different to win. And yeah, it's just Manchester City, the players, Haaland. I think Grealish has had a good season as well, to be fair. He's been criticised a bit since obviously we bought him, the price tag on him, but I think he's had a really good season. Ake, I think he's been brilliant as well. Who would have thought Nathan Ake had been doing bits for him? Yeah, I just think their players in general, not even the first team, the bench, they've got the squad. They're just absolute quality, aren't they? That's all I can really say about City. They're absolute quality.
It's not a lot else to say, is it? It's just
best
almost
team in the world.
Yeah,
by far in the minute. There's such a gap, I think, and the only ones I thought, to be honest, in recent years that could live with them were Real Madrid and Liverpool, and both of those have dropped off massively this season, and City have gone on even further. So, I think we're going to be talking about them for a few years to come.
They can really be dangerous if he stays, because I just look at them like Madrid are in a rebuild. Yeah, Benzema's gone. Yeah. Modric is old now. Kroos is that whole got like. Real Madrid are going to take a while to, at least in Europe, I think they'll always be there as Madrid, but I don't think you can look at them and go, it's a given that Real Madrid are going to win the final at the moment. They need to get a striker. They need to get some midfielders in. Bayern Munich look a shadow of themselves in the moment. I'm really not convinced by them. And they need to get a striker as well. But there's rumors of like issues at Bayern. You see it with the players not getting on. Tuchel, I'm not convinced by over there as well, especially in Europe. Barcelona, again, Xavi in Europe, terrible record. I mean, they walked the league, but we all saw them in Europe. They were not threatening at all in the Champions League or up against Man United. Like, you look at that and you're like, okay, Barcelona aren't really. Lewandowski's retiring soon. Like, he's old. He's getting older. So you're looking at, like, if you're Man City, PSG are not serious. Like, nobody's taking them serious at all. Liverpool have dropped off. United and Arsenal just getting, but again, we're not. I don't think we're close. So if you're Man City, you're looking at it, you're like, wait a minute, we could really just dominate Europe for the next 3-4 years.
Yeah,
like we could actually do this.
They could. That worries me that they get over this European hurdle thing, and then you think, what? This is domination
again and again.
This is domination period, and then say not just the players that they have, as Craig says, Ake and Greece, they're improving the top quality players that they have on top of the top quality that they have, and they ain't just going to stand still this summer. Man City will, and the way the big question is, and we have to address it because I'm interested in what you two think about it. Is this 115 charged asterisks? How are we feeling about it? Because I don't know about you. At some stage, I feel that someone will wave the magic wand and it'll all be made go away by the lawyers and all the rest of it. But you can't ignore it, can you? You can't.
I need to look into it again properly, like and see. But the charges were like ultimately there was some dodgy stuff going on there with the. I think the main one I think they saw was they were basically reporting their revenue wrong their revenue from sponsorships by having themselves basically pay themselves by offshore companies and things like that. So yeah, some dodgy business going on and reporting numbers that didn't exist. So I think it's not fair. Like it's wrong when that happens. Like it's not fair. It's basically just cheating. Yeah.
But you think what they're going to do to change? I mean, you look at, not the same thing, but you look at Formula One at the minute with Red Bull, and they had a massive situation where they were seeing either the cost cap, the rule questions, and then in terms of then the punishment of what happens doesn't really make any kind of impact anyway. And it's the only thing, to be honest, I think that the rest of the league that we can throw at them at the minute. So we're all just kind of like, it's the charges. You got 100, never mind the penalty. Was it a penalty at the weekend? You got 115 other issues you got to deal with. All of this, but. We're clutching at straws a bit because I don't think it's lead anywhere.
It's not going to.
So Manchester City are flying. As always, we'll try and whip through some of these other ones because I know we're getting on a bit and we do want to get to our team of the year. So Manchester United, we did talk about a bit at the start. So for me, I thought decent year, third. Champions League, we're happy with that. It's a step in the right direction. I was pleased with some of the stuff Ten Hag was doing. There's a lot of work to do in the squad, but when you consider that, I always go back to that Brentford game. 4-0 down at Brentford was horrific, as worse as I think I've felt in 20 years as a United fan, thinking we are in trouble. To then flip it on its head and say third trophy, League Cup final, back in the Champions League. Just got to sort this owner situation out and know where we're going as a club, and then see what we can build to become. But still a bit of uncertainty at United, but we ultimately got top three. So I'm going to ignore the FA Cup final now and be happy with what's happened for the rest of the season. And another team very, 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 very pleased with their season, ahead of schedule. Newcastle United are back in the Champions League. What a job Eddie Howe has done at Newcastle. I know we love Eddie Howe, Shah, on this show. We're a big fan of Eddie Howe. What do we make of Newcastle's season? Not a surprise, but not a surprise. I think the way they ended last season was very strong, but
no, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say they were good this year. They were really good this year. They've got some really good players, Eddie Howe's done a good job. There was a little bit of a false storm with them at the beginning, the first half of the season. I think there was a lot of draws in there, and other teams slipping up. Like, it's one of those ones where, I mean, you can say it's about anyone, to be fair. If Chelsea, Liverpool weren't as bad, do Newcastle get in that position this year? But they deserve it. I think they were, next to United, they were one of the better teams outside of Arsenal and City across the course of a season in terms of consistency. So it's not like they don't deserve to be in the Champions League. They 100% do. But let's see what they've done. I'm not quite convinced of Howe as a top manager just yet, but I'd be interested to see what they do in the Champions League.
Mm.
Yeah.
It will be very interesting. They kind of had periods of the season where they had that defense which was so difficult to get through, but their attack was sort of stumbling. They were struggling to score, and then the attack was on at the back end of the season. They were a lot more exciting at the back end of the season when they got Isak back fit again with Wilson. Almiron dropped off, but then we were starting to see other players, people like Willock, coming through and playing really well, and Bruno Guimaraes sort of stepping up. As Craig says here, 11 draws they had before their sort of second defeat. That's that kind of, in the end, got them to the Champions League. But you think if they'd have won a few more of those games and turned those draws in, St James's Park has become a fortress again. It's been a horrendous place to go up and play, so not a lot of teams are going to be looking forward to doing that. And European, I do remember the mid-90s European nights at Newcastle, the Faustino Asprilla hat-trick against Barcelona. I'm sure all of that next season, that would be rocking for that first group game. It would be bonkers.
Oh,
yeah.
That would be bonkers. So great, fantastic season for Newcastle. Nottingham Forest stayed up. They're many players banded together.
Another awful side.
Keep them in. Forest is such a funny one because I still can't name most of their team. Someone asked me to name the Forest 11. I think I'd get like 2. A 1 year front.
No identity.
Danilo, and I'm struggling.
Load of good players who just bailed them out this season. Manager who I have no idea how he managed to get a new contract this season as well. So I agree with Shaw. I think the thing is though, they managed to survive. So I think they'll pull the plug early this next season if they sense that they're going to be. They will be like, we can't be in a relegation battle again this year. So if we're not around that top 10 come November, see you later. Because I don't think they'll want to go through that again.
I think they're struggling. As Craig says, this is a big quick quiz. Can anyone name all 30? That might have to be another podcast where we just all have to try and name between us.
I know they've released
Forest fans.
They've released Jesse Lingard, though, haven't they? I'm sure they've released him after that big contract and the money that he was on. I'm sure they've released him.
Did anyone think he was actually going to be good for them?
No.
No.
They made up for it. Like Danilo's quality.
Gibbs White was
really good. Gibbs White's been good, and that was a question mark because the price, but he's been really good for them, and they're playing him out of position as well. Awoniyi inconsistent, but when it really mattered, he scored goals, and he scored a ton for Union Berlin last season before he joined them. Like he was a proven goal scorer over there, and then he was a bit all over the place, but it's kind of like where's the service? And then towards the end of the season, he really stepped up and dragged them sort of through it at the end. So fair enough. But yeah, I don't know with Forest. They'll probably end up signing another 10, 20 players.
So Chris says they've only released 6 apparently so far. So there's still a lot more. I think they need to move on alongside that. But yeah, Forest, they're another question mark. Who knows next season? Who knows? But for their side, I suppose anybody coming up and they survive, they're going to be happy. So for this season, I suppose they'll be happy. A team that are not are Southampton. Southampton were dreadful. Their squad at the start of the season was just, I looked at it going, not gone. I've got nothing here whatsoever. Speaking to the fans, at the start of the season, they were trying to argue this, that, and the other, and then they got rid of it. They all wanted Hasenhüttl out. I was like, what are you doing? They got Hasenhüttl out, and then you're like, well, this is what you asked for, and this is now what you got, which is absolute. The Nathan Jones saga, which was just bonkers.
That was mental. I didn't get that at all.
One win
and called the fans out in the first press conference. You think, what is going on here? That was crazy. They've been slowly on the decline for a little while, Southampton, to be honest, and they may need this go down to try and rebuild and come again. But I think their fans are worried. They're rumoured with what's his name, Russell Martin of Swansea. I think is going to go in there. Sounds of it. Which. He's a completely different. He's very possession based, isn't he?
I was going to say that's a totally different style of play, isn't it?
I think Swansea had the best outside of Burnley in the Championship. They kept the ball the most, so it might see a completely different style to Southampton. So it might be
the technical players, haven't they? Southampton, their academy is very technical, but they haven't produced quality academy players for years, which is what they were kind of.
Yeah, they were known, weren't they?
Yeah, they were known for. So I'm a little bit worried for them. I think. They've got the good foundation. I don't think they'll spiral, but I just don't. I think there's championship teams that are better than them. Yeah. When they go down, even their current squad, I think, once Ward-Prowse is gone, let's be honest, Lavia is probably gone, and then you look at it and you're like, this is a championship side.
Well, you think even the fact of their best player last season was Livramento. He didn't kick a ball
Yeah.
because he had a
Yeah.
massive injury.
He's gone.
He's bad championship level, and the championship's ridiculously competitive next season. Huge
Next
sides.
season, some of
It's
the
just
clubs that are in that.
stacked top to bottom next season, the championship. So
Yeah, it's next season that's a hard one to call.
it's a very tough one to get them out of. So yeah, Southampton will be struggling. They will be struggling for sure. And another team who struggled, which again disappointed Lucas, is London Rivals, are just not doing the business. Tottenham Hotspur.
They'll be getting rid. Next to Luton, they'll be Luton and Tottenham next season.
Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea. Oh, that would be a dream come true. We could finish 10th and I'd be happy if Tottenham Chelsea got relegated.
Tottenham and Chelsea were down. I said Charlotte and I are actually doing an all about Tottenham episode this week, which will be out on Thursday, which we're very much looking forward to get a Tottenham's view of the insanity, what we can view it outside.
Beyonce's performing there recently this week.
She is, yeah. It's from the best performance of the season, isn't it?
They're an embarrassment.
They really are. I mean,
yeah, they are.
What to say about Spurs? I don't know.
They snuck into the big six conversation with us, and it's like they have no right to be there, apart from the fact that Poch overachieved for years, didn't win anything, but overachieved in terms of performances in the league, and they got to the Champions League final, bought a massive new stadium, it's an amazing stadium. But they're not a competitive football team. They're really not. For the money that they generate and the profile of players they've got at the club as well, it's embarrassing. If I was a Spurs fan, I'd be embarrassed. And Kane leaves, and I didn't even know. I think Kane and Son leave, they might actually be all right. I think obviously Yoram plays the goals, but I don't think they slip down that much. I think it's that mentality and that reliance. I think sometimes you need to just let go. I've seen our best players leave at Arsenal. I know we're different, but I've seen it happen, and it can be a refresher that you need, and I think that's what they need now. Just you need to rip up the script and start again.
It's a refresh, and it's a few seasons build off the back of losing a Kane and then building something completely different, as you say. But they're going to have to be patient. I think they're going to have to be patient because it's going to take, and a lot, not just Kane, but I say Kane's not dropped off, but the drop off of Son, the drop off of, I mean, how good was Kulusevski this season? You look at that front three, Kane, Son, and Kulusevski was arguably as good as any front three in the league the season before. And now those two just dropped off. Richarlison's not really done it. Hasn't scored a Premier League goal, has he? Apart from that, was it? No, the one against Liverpool.
Signings haven't been good as well, or haven't fit in. And it's a weird one. It didn't feel like some of the signings were Conte signings as well. Some of them were club signings. I think he came out and said like things like Basuma, the right back, were like signings that the club had made, and then he didn't, he was like, I'm not going to play them because they're not my signings.
Yeah.
Conte was a bad fit. This whole Conte Mourinho, bad fit, didn't work. They need, I honestly joke about it, but I said Brendan Rodgers would be the kind of manager that he should go for. That's the level that they need.
Well, they reckon is it Posta? I don't even know pronounce him. Posta.
Has he actually gone? Is that like official?
I don't know because they weren't saying anything because Celtic had a cup final, didn't they, at the weekend? But again, the rumours are pretty heavy.
I'm sure it's pretty much like nailed on that he's going to Spurs.
He's got a good record, hasn't he? Like he's won quite a few global.
But then is his record any better than Rodgers? Because Rodgers did that in Scotland just a number of years ago and has got Premier League.
Although
experience.
He's got a title in Australia, doesn't he? As well.
Oh, so was it the A League? That's the one you want. That's the one you want to get you in the Premier League.
Let's see what happens. But they're a joke. And look, swap them with Newcastle, okay? Let's just swap it. That's the big six now. Swap them with Newcastle.
That's the big six. No, well, and Villa are above them now as well. So they're
Villa, Brian, bring them all in. Yeah, make it top seven. Top 7 or top 8?
7 without Spurs. They are well off. They are well off. And so it seems, apart from Arsenal, it did seem a lot of London teams were dropping off. West Ham being another. Okay, they've got the Conference League final. You can kind of see maybe how that's distracted. But now that relegation isn't a thing, they probably look at it going, actually, we'll take this season if we can win a European trophy. It'd be amazing. But there was a while where they were in some real trouble, and another one with a squad that you went, how are you in this position? What's going on here, David Moyes? Struggled to. What do you think was the issue for West Ham this season, Char? What do you think their problem was? Was it Europe?
I think Europe, obviously I've mentioned on previous pods as well, I think Mark Noble's a miss, like on and off the pitch. So obviously he was there for so many years. They've had some struggles. Didn't one of their owners pass away as well? So I don't know if that could have taken its toll on them a little bit. But yeah, I think West Ham have got a lot of quality players, but they just weren't really doing the business. I think Antonio, he's quite injury prone as well. I think they had some injuries. Declan Rice, obviously there was a lot of pressure on him to perform, and I don't think he had a good a season as he's had previously. But yeah, I think a lot of it does boil down to Europe, to be honest. I think that's where I think it's kind of taken its toll on them.
They struggled, I think, with some of the signings. Some of the signings, I mean, weren't bad on paper. I mean, they got Scamacca, didn't they? And they had Lucas Paqueta as well. But I don't think they really knew how to use Scamacca, which seemed to didn't really work. But as you say, as Craig says here, they got the Rice money, that big old Rice money could be coming in.
Yeah.
So if they invest it right off the back of, if they win the Conference League, they win Europa League as well.
Europa League,
exactly. Yeah.
I saw someone big linked to them the other day, like a name, and I was like, they signed Lucas Paqueta. He starts for Brazil. West Ham can sign London State, big stadium in the middle of London.
Yeah.
It's the Premier League, isn't it?
European football, League. And the Premier League, it's like players will want to go and play for them.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they do win it and they sell Rice. Not be surprised if they sign 2 or 3 like pretty big names or relatively big names in like from the French league or La Liga or something.
Yeah, I could see them mixing it up a bit. I think they had a couple of big injuries as well, which didn't help part of the season. Was it Aguero at the back as well? I think they took a while to get him back, and they've looked better defensively since he's been in. So, West Ham one probably they just go, okay, but don't worry about the league this season. We'll take what we've got, and then we'll see where we're at next season. Because it wasn't. Was it last season before they were top 6, weren't they? They were fighting up there, so they were another that you can't kind of
last
write
season.
off.
I
think the signings. They could be well back up there and fighting. So West Ham overall probably just happy they're in the league and they've got a European final to look forward to. And finally, of our A to Z, we've come to the bottom of the bottom. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers, who again were another of those 2 half seasons, weren't they? Dreadful in the first half, and then somehow managed to get Lopetegui in.
They're literally the most boring team in the Premier League. Wolves. They're so boring. There's just nothing fun or exciting about Wolverhampton Wanderers whatsoever anymore. There was a little bit of it with the Jimenez and at the beginning when it was quite. It's like they've got loads of Portuguese players and it was quite fun. And now it's just like it's boring. It's just Diego Costa in there. Like it's just boring. Their football's not fun to watch. They literally just rely on like mistakes and like Neto or opponents pouncing on something. They don't score a lot of goals. They're boring. So I'm sorry. I just don't. I'm tired of Wolves now. It was fun while it lasted, but I'm tired of Wolves. I think the fact that they can just get loads of quality Portuguese players is kind of keeping them up. They've got like the next generation of Portuguese players is coming through the link, and they got some talented youngsters. I'll give them that. They do have some talented players, and I do like
youngsters. Yeah,
I do like Neto and Podence. I think they're inconsistent, but I do like them. And Neves is good. Aït-Nouri's pretty good at left back. Goalkeeper's all right, Jose Sarr. And they got another player.
Didn't they have a couple? They bought a couple of midfielders in January, but seemed to be long-term replacements for Neves and Moutinho, didn't they? That came in.
Yeah,
one of them.
Was it one from Sport? Cunha, Mateus Cunha. Oh, he's the striker.
The Atletico Madrid guy as well.
That's it. Yeah, decent. And then, they got. That's the thing. They got good players. You always look at Wolves and you're like, they've got good players, so it will gel at some point and it'll be enough for them to stay up. But I just don't see them doing anything.
I mean, if the goals, no one scored. They scored the least amount of goals in the Premier League, 31. Yeah. That's 5 less than Southampton. It was dreadful in front of goal. So I mean, it's just, and they conceded 58. So defensively they shored up a bit, but. Again, Lopetegui, a mid-season manager, gets the summer behind them. Also got a bit of cash as well, so they think that they could strengthen. They could strengthen to be a mid-table. But again, what they do, they brought in a lot of young midfield players. I think they bought a striker in last season. If I remember, didn't he get injured on the first day some guy they bought in. I'm going to have a look at his name. Sasa, somebody or other. They got like, their big striker they bought in.
Nunes. Is it Nunes? Did they buy Nunes?
No, it's an Austrian. Sasa Kaladzic. He's like massive. Yeah, 6'7". He got injured on their first game of the season and didn't come back since. So he was a pretty massive signing for them. Yeah, 15 million he got them. They bought him in for from Stuttgart. Decent record over there as well. And
they were a bit like Bournemouth last year, where they just get wins. Like, how have they won this game? It's like how are they beating Villa? Like I'm just like, how are you letting Wolves beat you, Emery? Like, what are you doing?
They did have some strange results. I was just looking at some of the. Yeah, they beat Villa. They beat Brentford. I mean, they beat Chelsea. Everyone beat Chelsea.
Beat Chelsea, yeah, but they got battered by the top teams this year.
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't do much against any of them. Yeah, you beat them 5-0. Brighton beat them 6-0.
Yeah, they were at the end of some hammerings by the top teams.
They only won twice away from home at Everton and Saints. So that's part of the issue.
They're on the fringes. Wolves. Their position's a false position for sure. Then they're not a good side.
They scratched it, and Lopetegui had to improve what was a terrible start from them as well. They were absolutely all over the place with Bruno Lage early on. So they've snuck their way in. See what they do in the summer as to what they could be next season. But we've made it. We've made it through all of the teams, which means we now get to the fun portion where we get to share with you our team of the season, and we're going to try and agree a joint team of the season between the three of us. So I'm going to stick, if this comes up first, I'm going to see who comes up first. And this is Charlotte's team of the season, which we have dubbed Attack.
All out attack.
Talk us through, Charlotte, your team of the season.
Yeah, so I've gone for Brentford's keeper. I think he's been brilliant. Although obviously it's not a top club, I thought the season Brentford have had, and just him, and as it shows, there is a couple of big clubs interested in him. So I've gone for him as goalkeeper. Then I've gone for Trippier because I just think he's had a great season, creating chances. Obviously, he's been scoring goals as well. So I've gone for Trippier from Newcastle. Then I've gone for Diaz at the back. I just think he's been solid. I don't think he's played as much as obviously some of the players at the back, has he? As Stones and stuff played more.
No, he was injured for quite a bit.
He was injured. Yeah, but I think he's been solid, obviously, since coming back, and he's at centre back for me. Saliba, even though obviously he had an injury towards the end of the season, I just think he's been absolutely quality for Arsenal. Arsenal have obviously had a great season as well. I cannot pronounce this guy's name.
Estupinian.
I just think, I was looking at the left backs and I was like, who can I have in? So I just thought Brighton have had a great season. I think he's done well at the back as well. So I went for him. Defensive midfielder, I've gone for Casemiro. A lot of people at the start of the season, did he come in January actually, or was it the start? It was
September. Is right at the end of the transfer window.
Yeah, right at the end. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, what's he going to do? Premier League." Obviously, he's older now. They're spending that much money on him, but I think he has proven a lot of them doubters wrong. I think he's had a brilliant start of the season for Manchester United. He's kind of made his mark now in that role. Obviously, he's had a few suspensions and then it's took him a bit to get back into it, but I think he's vital for Manchester United. So, yeah, Casemiro. I had a slight change because I did originally go with Saka, and I think this was really, really tough. But I think Mo Salah, as much as Liverpool have been quite bad, I think just his goal contributions and assists, I think have been vital for Liverpool. So that's just why I've gone for Mo Salah. I've gone for Odegaard as well for Arsenal. I think he's been top quality this season. It's been a joy to watch. So I went with him. Kevin De Bruyne. You just can't not go for Kevin De Bruyne, in my opinion. I think he's been absolute quality every season, and I think he is vital for Manchester City. And then up front, I've got the goal machine, Haaland, and obviously Harry Kane as well. I think they've been vital for both clubs. As much as Harry Kane hasn't been in a good side in Tottenham, I think his goal contributions and just in this season has been good. So I couldn't not go with Harry Kane.
It's a good. I like it. I like it. It's a very attacking side. So there's a number of positions there, and I think they're all names in there. The ones that I haven't gone for that I was thinking
Yeah.
of that are very
Yeah.
tricky. There's this, I think we said it before the
I
pod. There's a
was-
couple of positions that are
yeah.
horrible.
I was torn. No, I was torn between Saka and Salah because I think Saka has been brilliant. I think he's been. I think he's really improved this season. The only thing I went with Salah was because even though Liverpool haven't performed that well, and obviously just missed out on Champions League, I think his goal contributions and his assists have been vital. So that's why I went with Salah.
He's been more consistent as well.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, it was similar to me, but Saka was. It was those last 2 to 3 months was really bad, like really bad. So yeah, I like Salah in there as well.
I think it was tough. I ended up going. I think I went the other way with Saka, just on the basis that, as you say, I think Saka had that first portion of the season, where he really had kind of Arsenal motoring, was kind of very, very essential to what they were doing. And I looked at the fact that I had to put Kane in there, and I just thought, well, Kane stepped up, but Salah, his numbers are still ridiculous, but they're not what they were. They weren't enough. There was a period he wasn't kind of firing in that early Liverpool team, and ultimately that probably cost them getting a position. I think I gave the nod to Saka because I think he had more influence over the team, while the numbers for Salah are still ridiculous. Plus, I mean, Salah's still the better player in my opinion, but I just wanted to give it to Saka in the end, and to create a bit of conjecture, so we didn't all have the same teams. So, Lucas, do you want to take us through your team of the season?
Yes. So, this was a tricky one because I was a fan of Raya. It was Raya, Alisson. I was even going to throw Steele in there, but I don't think he played enough games. That was the only thing. So I was like Raya or Alisson, and I think Alisson just proved his quality again. Even when Liverpool were poor, he just looked so comfortable, and he kept them in a lot of games where they were just defensively all over the place. So I've gone for Alisson. I think he's the best goalkeeper, I think, from what I've seen in the world. He's just solid, and he can pass as well. So you get a proper shot stopper who can literally put a ball in your feet from 60 yards away. And then I think the common trio, Trippier, Diaz, Saliba, is going to pop up in pretty much in most people's team of the seasons. There was an honourable mention in there. Who was the honourable mention? No, not centre back. Trippier. Who was the right back I was looking at? I was going to put Caicedo there. That was the only thing. I was going to play an inverted one with Caicedo, but I went with Trippier in the end because, again, I think just consistently from the beginning to the end of the season, he was quality for Newcastle. And then Nathan Ake. I like Estepinian. I think he was brilliant. Left back was tricky, but
Rob Holding has missed out.
Honourable mention for Rob Holding for sure. Nathan Ake was the star in that Bournemouth team. I think he was quality. I always thought he was a good player. I just didn't know how good he was. And then even when he moved to City, it was a bit like the money wasn't excessive, but there was a lot of money. He didn't really fit in that team when he first joined. And this season, Pep's been using him, and when they haven't had him in the team, they've looked a lot shakier, and he's just solid. I remember when we played against him, that was Saka's probably one of his worst performances of the season when we played him, because Ake just didn't give him a sniff. I just think as a centre back filling in a left back, even going forward as well, he's brilliant, Nathan Ake. I really, really like him. I think he's been solid this season. And then the midfield was a nightmare, but Saka, Salah were tricky, but then I also wanted to then it was Grealish, Rashford. I think the injury hurts Rashford a bit because he came back a bit and was played out.
I thought that. I was exactly the same.
His numbers weren't great, and when he doesn't have the numbers, he's not really as effective. Unlike someone like Grealish, who doesn't need numbers to be effective. And I think Grealish, honestly, for me, I think he was their best. Haaland scored a lot of goals, but I think just Jack Grealish's performances for Man City were exceptional for the whole season. Like Gundogan's performances towards the end, but I think Grealish from the very beginning this season, he solidified that spot, and I think he was probably the first name on the sheet. Let's be honest, for the season outside of Haaland, him and Haaland were like guaranteed stars, and Pep doesn't usually do that with midfielders as well. It's like Rodri, Grealish, and Haaland guaranteed to start every game, and Edison, everyone else, it was up for grabs. Even De Bruyne, it was up for grabs. Yeah, anyone in that defense, I think with Diaz, you could probably make a case for, but. And then the the invisible man, Martin Odegaard. I had to put him in there. I think this season, he is a good player. Don't get twisted. He is a good player, but that's why it frustrates me that when he does disappear in a lot of games, especially big performances. He does tend to shy away from it a bit, and it's frustrating because I think there's a very good player in there. There's a very, very good player in there, technical, and he dictates the tempo very well. Good passing, really good vision. But he needs to really, when we play Man United, when we play Man City, he needs to just stamp himself in these games and show his ability a bit more. And I think hopefully he'll do that with time. But overall, 15 goals is really good. And he helped us get up that table as well. Like some really, really good goals as well he scored. And then the front two, it goes without saying, to be honest. I mean, you have to sneak them in there. You had to get Haaland in there. And I was like, well, I have to get Kane in there as well because he's just scored a ridiculous amount of goals, even if they ultimately led to nothing. But he had to go. That's it. 4-2-2-2.
4-2-2-2. Very good, very good. I think I'll finish this off with I followed the same suit in terms of a two up front.
4-1-3-2.
I did. I wanted to play one up top, but I was again when you look at 30 goals for Harry Kane in what was a terrible Tottenham side, then you can't not have it. So I'll take you through some of my different ones. So I went for Nick Pope just because I just liked Newcastle's defence and how I think important he was to that defence, and I'll go back to remembering the EFL Cup final before and how big a miss it was talked about with Pope not being there. I just think he provided a solid base alongside probably Trippier and Botman in that defence to give the confidence to people like Fabian Schär stepped up. And I think a lot of that came from the confidence they have from Pope from behind. His save percentage, I think, was better than Alisson's as well. But David Raya was the other one I was twisting with because, I mean, I think he's been in the top 2 for save percentage for the last 2 seasons, which is ridiculous. He had a crazy, and he's so good on his feet as well. But I just gave it a Pope just with how Newcastle have been this season. In the end, Trippier for obvious reasons, just the best right back in the league. I thought clearly this season. Diaz and Saliba, I think, as you guys have already said, not really a lot more to add. Diaz just brought City on another level since he came back. And Saliba, the drop-off with him not being there was because he looked like a Rolls Royce for the first 4 months of the season. Literally, I don't remember him putting a foot wrong in those early Arsenal games. So those two made sense. Honourable mention for me has to be Lisandro Martinez. I was thinking, can I play a back 3 just to get the little butcher in there? But then I was thinking, I'm going to have to go I need Trippier in there too, so I'll have to play some asymmetrical nonsense. I was like, this isn't Football Manager tactics, so I'll keep it simple. So no, Lisandro Martinez gets my honourable mention. Estupiñán, I just love his name. Purvis Estupiñán. He also got me a ridiculous amount of points at the Emirates in that game against Brighton for my fantasy team, so that always goes down well for me. So he made it in. What might surprise you, I went for Rodri over Casemiro. I absolutely love Casemiro, and he's been absolutely pivotal to what we've done. But I do think he dropped off a bit in the last 2-3 months of the season since post EFL Cup final. A couple of silly tackles as well, which led to silly suspensions, which I don't think helped us. Rodri was massive for Manchester City. It goes without saying, he's so integral to what they do, and I just think I couldn't ignore that. I couldn't not have a Manchester City holding player in there for what they do. So I went for Rodri. Saka over Salah, as I already said, was a very tough one, difficult to call. Odegaard, I thought, was fantastic for the majority of the season and so key to how Arsenal were playing when they were on form. And Rashford, Grealish quality. I think the only thing for me is Grealish was way too happy on Saturday, so I couldn't even imagine it. If we'd have done this a week before, he might have gone in, but Rashford just carried Manchester United. We wouldn't be in the Champions League if it wasn't for Rashford. Since the injury, he's definitely not been the same, but also what he had around him. If Rashford didn't score, we didn't win games. We didn't score goals. And he had bloody Weghorst up front with him for the second half of the season. Tony Martial doing nothing. He's had sort of Sancho. The pressure that was on him, and he had that period of games where he really did push us through. And for where Rashford was last season to this season, it's massive. Still needs more. We still need to find a bit more out of him. But I think if you take some pressure off his shoulders, and we had the Rashford of this season, then he's going to be a massive threat. But I do agree with some of what Lucas says. He's not always, when he's not at it, he doesn't offer as much to the game as a player like a Grealish or somebody like that. So I can see that. And Haaland and Kane, you had to. 30 goals for Kane and 350 goals or whatever it was for Erling Haaland. There we go. So that is my team this season. We'll quickly go over to Josh's because effectively, he gave me part of this. he gave me part of this when he was on the when he
Who's
was
the
on M4.
TBC striker?
Well,
I think you went for Weghorst, you know. I'm sure it was Weghorst.
Weghorst and Malacia, I think, were the two that are missing.
Yeah, I think it was those ones. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Apparently, he had Palhinha that might have gone in there. He also did a bit of a switch with Salah and Saka to get there. And I see what he's trying to do there, so I can understand that. But yeah, and a TBC left back to whatever. So we've let him have his say anyway. So he's in there. I am aware that we've gone on very long today. We're sort of almost 2 hours, so I won't keep us too much longer. So I think what we'll do instead of this. We were going to put the team together. We'll ignore that because I think we've kind of already done that. But what I will do is we'll just have a quick scan through, perhaps. Say top 10 players of the year. Top 10 players of the year from this horrendous list that we've picked to try and decide who is in the top 10 and where they sit. So the contenders, if you're listening on audio, are Nick Pope, Alisson, David Raya, William Saliba, Ruben Dias, Sven Botman, Lissandro Martinez, Kieran Trippier, Casemiro, Rodri, Thomas Partey, Kevin De Bruyne, Martin Odegaard, Bruno Guimaraes, Bukayo Saka, Mohamed Salah, Marcus Rashford, Gabriel Martinelli, Erling Haaland, Harry Kane. This might be quite difficult to do quickly, is the only thing I'm thinking.
Should we get the easy one out of the way?
Should get the easy one out of the way then. Go on, then. Who's number one? Because I've got a picture of that Weghorst there as well. Let's put him in. Okay,
Yeah.
so Erling Haaland.
Yeah,
There we
it's got to
go.
be.
It's got to be number one. Any
I
shouts
think,
for two?
I think a lot of us had Trippier as well, didn't we?
Trippier was good. Is he? Is
that a top 10 just out of a
In that
whole
order.
then?
Oh,
Is that in
in
order?
order.
Is that in order? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
in order. Yeah.
Yeah, now it's tricky.
Now it's
my
tricky.
God.
You're gonna have to start placing them and then moving them around.
And start moving them. So who do we think's definitely in there somewhere? So I think you've got to have
Trippier definitely in there.
Trippier's got to be in there. Stick him at a 7 to start,
yeah.
True, for Trippier.
Yeah.
He's got to be in there.
Kane's got to go in there. Kane around 3
Yeah,
or
100%.
4.
Yeah, let's put Kane here at 4. There we go. No, I don't want to change the font. Thank you. It's Harry Kane in there. There we go. Kane's in there. Who else is a different? Rodri. Would you have Rod? We all had Rodri in our teams.
Rodri's got to go in there. Maybe 4, 8.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, this is tough.
Is he above? Is he below it? He's got to be above a Trippier, isn't he? Surely. Rodri in there, right? The season Arsenal had who's
Odegaard, yeah.
You've got to have Odegaard
Yeah.
in. I'd possibly
We might have to move him afterwards, maybe 3.
Yeah, let's stick him there for now. Odegaard in there. Any shouts for any other of these?
Casemiro, maybe 9.
Casemiro down here. That's fair. Casemiro. Stick him in there. Who else was in all of our teams did we have that we think? Diaz.
Oh, yeah, we got Diaz.
Yeah.
5?
5,
Or
perhaps.
Rodri over the... Okay.
We're going to have to move that in a minute. So who does that leave? Who we haven't picked who's in our team. So I think goalkeepers were good, but we haven't got room for goalkeepers in this. They'll have to be dragged off. I think
You both had Salah.
Salah.
I had him as an honourable mention.
Salah and Saka.
So maybe Salah for 10.
I think you've got to have Salah in there. I think you've got to have Saka in there too. If it's 10, I don't know. Over was Saka better than Martinelli this season, Vegas? I know he wasn't in any of our teams, Martinelli, but
yeah, I think I think so.
Yeah.
Just about. Do we stick Saka here for now?
Yeah.
And then we've got one more to place, and then we can fiddle around with where they sit. Ooh.
Saliba.
Yeah.
Saliba or KDB, I think are the obvious
Yeah.
ones coming out.
I think Saliba.
Yeah.
So Haaland definitely. Haaland definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you have to put Rodri there then. Rodri or
I was going to say,
I think
yeah.
you do, don't you? So let's move Rodri with
I was going to say
Saliba.
Rodri, yeah.
That's fair. Rodri is key. I think you have to go. I have to go Odegaard over Kane for where
where they finished.
where you
But then
sit. Diaz, Saliba, Trippier is kind of fair.
Saka.
Can you move Saka higher? I don't know. Just Saka above a Trippier. Trippier was good, but it's tough, isn't it? It's just tough.
I don't know because I feel like Trippier was more consistent.
It's fair.
Yeah, exactly.
And the defence as well. They had a pretty decent defence, didn't they, Newcastle?
They did.
What did Saliba Diaz? What do you? I mean, they won the league. This is the
They won
thing.
the league,
Yeah.
didn't they? I think if Saliba wasn't injured,
That's the
They
thing.
both
Though.
had
The
injuries, didn't
impact,
they?
yeah, the impact with Saliba out of the Arsenal team was bigger than the impact of Diaz out of the City team.
Mm.
But when he did come back, they won on that streak. So
it
it's
went
like
on.
they went from only losing 2 games to losing none. So it's like,
It works both ways, yeah.
I quite like that. I mean, the bottom 3 is
Yeah.
you can move it around any way, but
Shall we stick with that? Shall we stick with that for now? Yeah, I mean, we're probably
Yeah.
clutching at hairs a bit of this. I can't think anyone I obviously want to change.
you could potentially swap Trippier and Saliba. But I think that just goes down to we still finished a bit higher, and Saliba was part of the team at the top of the table.
Yeah.
It was
And then as
key.
soon as he got injured, we fell at Saka.
I think that's
Casemiro,
pretty
Salah,
decent.
Yeah, I think
that's
that
pretty
works.
decent, yeah.
We're happy. We're excellent.
I'm
Rodri's
happy with
is
that.
unbelievable. He always goes under the radar.
Oh, he does
Yeah.
go under. How that man doesn't get more bookings as well, though. He needs to be top of the table for absolute dark arts. He's brilliant at that as well.
Yeah.
Top 10, fantastic top 10. And we've got one more to do. Top 5 managers of the year. So your contenders are Pep Guardiola, Mikel Arteta, Eric Ten Hag, Eddie Howe, Robert De Zerbi, Unai Emery, Thomas Frank, Marco Silva, Gary O'Neill, Roy Hodgson, and a picture of Frank Lampard. Just a picture. He's not on the list.
Do we just have to give Pep as well for 3 in a row?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I was going to say Pep.
I think we have
Bloody
to.
Pep.
I think we blooming have to. I'm not happy about it, but I do think we have to. Then it becomes difficult because you're thinking, right, the task that they had, you're trying to weigh that off, aren't you, with kind of the league table? But
I think how they
I
finished
don't- I was-
16th, right?
yeah.
16th to 3rd.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
how I will show this comment. Big Sam should be up there. He's as good as Pep and Clogman. He is. He's also got a big bank balance now.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're
Yeah,
gonna go,
how
yeah.
just based on the fact they went from 16th to 3rd, and he didn't buy his way there as well. He
Let's put How
got the
there.
best out of a lot of good
Okay.
got a lot of decent players in that team.
Lisa's after we can do the worst team. Maybe on the next pod we'll do that. Otherwise we'll be going
Oh,
for
yeah,
4
that would be
hours.
fun.
if
You
we
know
do the
what?
worst hours.
This is really hard because they've all done decent, haven't they, with what they've got?
They've all kind of overachieved.
They've all done a
Yeah.
great job because
It's
I mean
more
we
just
just
the case.
we just run through, Arteta put a
I
title
think Arteta's
charts
definitely going to be in
together.
the top 5 just because
Yeah.
of second
Yeah,
place.
100%.
But I think there's potentially. I think De Zerbi.
Yeah, I was going to go for De Zerbi.
I think De Zerbi might have to be given 3rd.
Do you think picking up from what he had, deserving
Yeah.
3rd?
And then Mikel.
Arteta
Yeah.
was 4th.
But I'm torn now between 5th.
This is.
I would probably say out of.
It's Premier League,
Um,
right, or just in general?
This is just Premier League, yeah.
I
So I
think
mean,
so.
I've got Emery, right?
it's got to be
Yeah.
Ten Hag or Emery, isn't it? And I do.
Yeah.
I think while Emery's done
This
some
is
good
tough.
stuff, Ten Hag has some awful stuff to match. I mean, the Ronaldo
But Ten-
situation, and
Ten
Yeah.
Hag's won a trophy. He's won a trophy as well.
He has
hasn't
won a
So
trophy too.
Does he get in it just for
To
winning
be
a
fair,
trophy?
he should probably be hired just for the trophy.
Probably.
And
I mean,
Champions League
Champ-
League position, yeah.
and Champions League, and I say he had the Ronaldo saga,
you're right, the
and then
Ronaldo
he got
situation,
and he got
yeah.
given Wout Weghorst as the replacement for that.
And he's signing
a lot to
Mason
deal with.
Mount. He's signing
He
Mason
did.
Mount. Give him
And
5th.
tell so Charles
God.
having
I'm
him.
joking. I'm joking.
Are we putting him 5 or are we moving him?
I think.
Are we moving him out?
You could probably you could make a case. So including the trophy, he's got to go 3rd then. I mean, to
Yeah.
be honest, he could probably go
Yeah.
2nd if we're including the trophy. If we're going a cup, he should really be
Yeah,
higher.
if it is a
I
suppose
suppose.
we
I
should
suppose.
put him second.
We have to consider the whole
Let's shift them all
season.
down.
So
Yeah.
let's put Ten Hag in here. So we go Howe in 3rd. We go. Who did we have in 4th? Who was that? I've missed this.
De
Ten Hag, De
Yeah, De
Zerbi.
Zerbi.
Finish with Mikel Oh, better. That lovely.
Yeah.
That's another good list as well. I think that's fair.
Yeah,
Fair.
I'm happy with that.
I'll save that. That's how happy I am with it. I'll keep it on file. Keep it on file. Ah, right. We've made it. Wow, what a
What a stream.
just over to wow, there's a lot to cover though. A lot to cover
Yeah.
in the end of the season pod. We needed to go through an awful lot on the club. So it's been fantastic to run that through with you. I've enjoyed that immensely. Thank you both. We do want to say to everybody, thank you as well for supporting us through the season. This is our first season as the Absolute Football Podcast. I know we sort of started in about October, wasn't it? I think we began. So we've got through the whole of the first season. It is the end of the season, but do not fear. We're not going away. We're not going away. We have got some ideas for the summer to try and keep the Monday pods coming along to you with different things. Obviously, there will be transfer rumours. There could be some quizzes. There could be all sorts of things. We've got fun guest episodes coming up as well, and a few. We can't leak it yet. There's potentially some few new shows next season that we'll see and we'll wait along with that are coming up too. So do keep your eyes on what we're doing. But we thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you all. Charlotte, before we go, if people aren't following you on Twitter, which I cannot believe that there is a person in the world that has not yet stumbled across your Twitter account and hit that follow button, where can people find you?
I'm most active on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm SharXRAFC, and my Her Game 2 pages on them socials of Rochdale HGT.
Magical. And of course, Lucas, where can people find you? What are you streaming on Twitch at the moment as well? What are you up to?
Honestly, the most random section of games. Football Manager, I'm a little bit bored of Football Manager at the moment. So I was streaming LA Noire yesterday and then a bit of The Witcher. Some RPGs, some action games. I'll be doing a bit of variety over the summer. And you can find me at Crab Dribble Twitch, Crab Dribble _ TikTok and Twitter.
Lovely stuff. And I am Up the FM Ducks everywhere. You can find me on Twitter, on TikTok, on YouTube, my website, upthefmduck.com. Reviewing shirt reviews as they come out, all the new football leagues and Premier League shirts and things coming out. So maybe that'll be a pod we have to do, all the new football shirts, what we think of the new football shirts, because there's some great ones and there's some stinkers that have already appeared as well. So plenty to talk about there. And of course, where can you find the Absolute Football Podcast? Well, you can find it on Twitter at Absolute Ball Pods. You can find it on TikTok at Absolute Football Pod and Instagram Absolute Football Podcast _ and that's where you can find us all. So thank you all, everybody, again. Had a wonderful evening, and we will catch you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.